What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How are all you beautiful people doing, man? I miss you guys so much. I know we weren't here last week, man. I hate missing weeks, but things happen. I appreciate y'all hanging out, man. But we bring in the sauce this week. We got a whole lot to talk about. Anytime we miss a week, it actually kind of makes me feel like better the upcoming show because like I get a chance to really like sit and think about all the stuff that's been going on. But I appreciate all you guys coming through. Already seeing a bunch of familiar faces in chat. Hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already. What's up, Spider-Man 356, Luis, Talos, Shonsu, everybody hanging out in the chat. Andrew, appreciate all of you beautiful people, man. Retweet that link. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live. We are back, man. I missed you guys, man. I hate missing weeks, but I missed you guys. We got a lot to talk about, man. We got a phenomenal guest. Always got the latest panel on YouTube, man, for sure. But let's get over to our guest, man. This gentleman's been here before, man. But if you guys don't know, what's up, Slow-Mo? How you doing, bro? Appreciate you coming through, brother. I see you just sliding through. You just got off the Scumcast, but let everybody know where they can find you, Slow-Mo.
Yo, what's up, man? How's it going, guys? And how's it going, chat? Glad to be back here once again. You guys can find me on my channel, Slow-Mo Backslap, and also on the DPS channel, Damage Per Second podcast channel, with me and my homie Gaming Forte. We do our live shows every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But hey, enough about that. We here tonight on the shop. Going to chop it up. Gonna have a good time. Let's do it, man.
Oh yeah, let's get into it, man. Shout out to Forte as well, DPS podcast. Go check out all the information below. Shout out to Luca too. Can't forget about the Scumcast. Always got the fam over there. Appreciate Luca, man, doing big things. But shout out to you, Slow-Mo, once again for coming through. What's up, Ray? What's up, Polly Baba? Appreciate you guys hanging out in chat. And let me go ahead and throw this over to my brothers, man. I missed you guys last week, man. Pong, Fuzz, but we'll start with you, Pong. How you been? What you been playing? What you been up to, brother?
Yeah, it is good to be back. I missed my Saturday night last week. It's always strange, man. I missed 2 weeks in a row. I come back for one, and then all of a sudden PTK has something to come up, right? And now we're off again. But good to be back, and obviously awesome, amazing to have Slow-Mo join us as he was supposed to last week. So Slow-Mo, good to hear your voice, brother. It's been way too long. Yeah, man, what a week. Just haven't been getting to bed a little bit earlier again, so I've been trying to manage the sleep a little bit better because Starfield had me for weeks there in really bad schedule. So didn't play as much this week, but man, Diablo 4 is back. Season 2 is absolutely fantastic.
I'm enjoying it. I've been playing a lot of it,
bro. Level 81 now.
Crazy. I thought I was doing something. I'm 45.
Yeah, level 81. Got a special unique, one of the brand new uniques for the season. So that's got me thinking about changing my sort class up completely. So we're going to see if I'm going to do that. But yeah, been enjoying the hell out of Diablo 4. Been playing some Starfield, of course, here and there. And actually, the past couple days, I just got a few rounds in of the finals, which is an open beta for the next week. Shout out to Embark. For anybody who doesn't know who Embark is, they've got another game in the works that I'm more excited about, which is Arc Raiders, as PTK just said. The finals is going to be a free-to-play. I call it an extraction shooter. You're not extracting as a team, but you are extracting money. So I think that's the closest I can come to describing, unless somebody's got something better. But it is really fun, actually. I've been playing with randos. We haven't jumped in as a team yet, so I got to check that out. But playing with randos, shout out to Embark, man. This is a team, this is a development studio filled with former DICE devs, a lot of DICE devs, a lot of old school Battlefield devs, and you can tell they got to tighten up the shooting a little bit, but overall the game is fun. What kind of legs it's got, we'll see when it finally drops. But today it broke 229,000 current players on Steam. So they got a little magic. They got a little magic. So it is fun. It's going to be in open beta through the next weekend. So you got plenty of time to jump into it. Highly recommend you download it. It's cross-play across all platforms, PS5, PC, Xbox. So go check it out. It's different. I love the presentation. I know other games have done that game show kind of feel. This one does it really well. I like it. I love the music too.
Let me pick your brain on that a little bit, because I played it when they first did the first beta, and I didn't The controller gunplay was not very good at the time. It was mostly just mouse and
That's
keyboard at the time.
Yeah.
that's
So
probably
I
the
kind of
weakest
just put
part of
it
the beta.
right. But now it's much improved now when I tried it. But and they've made some more improvements as far as like your versatility and how you can handle things compared to before. But I still find it when I think about live service games that you gotta have so much more content than you think that you might do. I feel like this doesn't have the legs. Like this might be something that people would play for a weekend or two and be like, I'm kind of bored now. You know, like what are your thoughts on that?
I agree, Slow-Mo. That's why I said I don't know what kind of legs. Again, this space is so highly competitive and it's oversaturated at this point. You really have to stand out. Now, like I said, there's something there, right? That is kind of catchy and does kind of get you wrapped up in it. But I think that you're correct that Embark has to be ready when they launch this thing full time. They've got to have more content. I don't know how many modes they're going to have. The two that I've played so far in this are good, but they're not going to be enough when the full game launches. I agree with you.
You need more than 2 modes.
Yeah, you got to have more than 2 modes. I think the customization can do a little work. We obviously know it's going to be monetized to hell, but the customization right now isn't the greatest. So I think they do need to, obviously make sure they got content in those areas when they go full launch. I agree fully with you, Slow-Mo, because if it launches in this state, let's say this is close to final, and let's say they do tighten up the gunplay a little bit and that kind of stuff, but let's say it just launches like this, I think you're spot on. I think it'll be played for a short period of time and then everybody will hop off because people are going to get bored real quick. And I think that's the thing that they got to worry about right now. But base of the game, they got something here. And I think they can definitely make it work. Carve out a little niche. Again, this isn't their main game. Arc Raiders is their main game. This is another game. Obviously, them as a small studio are trying to create a revenue stream, and they know what they're doing here. It does differentiate itself with the Levolution that they've brought over from Battlefield. Obviously, that's their forte. It is a very cool mechanic in this game. It works very well. It looks good, but they do have to build upon it. But I hope it succeeds because I have high hopes for Embark. I want them to get this going. It doesn't have to be the biggest thing ever. They just got to carve out a niche in this oversaturated market, and I think they can. But you're spot on, Slow-Mo, with that with the comment for sure. Yep.
Great point. Great point. I played a little bit of the game too. My son played it. My daughter played it, and I enjoy it. I have the same sentiment as you as well, Pong. About some of the shooting, game modes, things like that. They definitely got to refine that, and we'll see though. But like you said, there's something there. There's something there, right? There's obviously something there. You don't get that many concurrent players on accident. That doesn't just happen on accident. So there's something there that people are grasping onto. And you're right about the competitiveness in that space. You're absolutely right. Like it's highly competitive, and it's even tough to stand out or do something different. Like what haven't devs tried in that space, right? Like it's hard to think of like, okay, what's new in this space? But
just ask Naughty Dog.
You don't necessarily have to be new though. That's not a requirement. You don't have to be the new person. You can still do what everybody else does, but there does have to be some type of, something there that people can just grasp onto. And that's what the task is for Embark to figure out, right? Like to make this something, to make this longer than a 30-day game, because as currently as it stands, like you said, it is about a 30-day game. Like, you'll see it skyrocket for about, a week or two and then maybe die off at current state. Like you said, if it came out right now as is, that like you're right. I don't think it would have as long legs as it probably needs.
Because a lot of the legs nowadays from these types of games come also from the streamers, right? And those concurrent players, right? That's why people hop on, is because they see everybody playing it. If there are only 2 modes, if you only have a handful of maps, if everything kind of feels and looks the same throughout, eventually those streamers and their audiences are going to get bored with it, and they're going to walk away, and that's when you start seeing things dip. Unfortunately, that's where we're at. But
100% agree. 100% agree. But let me go ahead and get this over to you, Fuzz, my brother. Appreciate you, man. Glad to hear from you. Glad to see you. Missed you last week, man. How you been, brother?
Well, I've been doing pretty good. Just having fun watching a lot of people melt down on the app formerly known as Twitter. But other than that, just playing a little bit of Starfield. I haven't touched Forza as much as I would like to, just because of the 1.0 patch kind of broke things for me on PC. 1.1 haven't gotten around to testing it out, but I know we got some new content coming next month, a new track and some bug fixes that were definitely needed. But other than that, a little bit of Undisputed, that early access boxing game, which I don't know. I'm starting to get the feeling at some point EA is going to announce a fight night. I mean, they just released UFC. What is it, 5 now at this point? But yeah, it would be nice if there was a mainstream, boxing game out there on console. Like right now, you can play Undisputed on PC, but it's going to be a while before they can port it over to console and get career mode and all that stuff situated. But other than that, man, just so much news has been going on. So much positive news with Xbox in the last few weeks, and man, it's good to see. Not so positive news over at Sony, but it is what it is. It cycles come around, go around, kind of thing. But I'm pretty sure we'll get into it. But so glad to be here with you guys. So glad we got Slow Mo here tonight. Man, a lot to get into. Let's do this.
Let's dive in, man. And once again, shout out to chat. Appreciate all of you. Hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already. If you want to, do more than that, you can join and become a member as well. That definitely helps the channel out. And I greatly appreciate all you guys. But let's dive into the topics. We got so much to talk about. So I'm actually going to forego the poll of the week. But shout out to the almost 1,000 people who took part in that poll, man. You guys are loving these polls. So once again, if you don't know already, I put the poll of the week up on Monday on my X account. You can follow me there. All of the information is down in the description, man. But I appreciate you guys. Let's dive right into it. And I'm jumping off the porch right away. And I want to start with this one because I feel like we need the most time to talk about this, because this is probably going to be the most difficult conversation out of all the topics tonight. And I want to talk a little bit about the upcoming Game of the Year nominations, right? We're a little early, chat. I mind you, we are a bit early, but I like to get into this stuff because it changes, right? And we're kind of close to the VGAs now. I understand everybody doesn't count the VGAs. We all have our own personal Game of the Years, but humor me in this particular case, chat. And I want everybody's Game of the Year list for sure. At least five nominations. But I want to start with you, Slow Mo. It's been a crazy 2023, in my opinion, Slow Mo. Probably the single greatest year in video game history. I know some people want to argue, with me about 2007, 2016. There's a lot of other years, but I think
2007. Yeah, I think 2011's pretty good too,
or something like that. Yeah,
there's
a few years.
There's some years out here, man.
I'm not naive. You got the Mass Effect, Call of Duty. You know what I mean? Halo 2007. Like, it was crazy. So BioShock.
I think it's a combination of this year is really up there with those years, and really also 2022. Last year was really bad.
Yeah, it probably
last year was really sucked. I mean, outside of Elden Ring and a few, it's just like it's like
it was top heavy.
If you go, very top heavy. Yeah. And you go back to those other years, you could just go down the list and you'll be talking for like 30 or 40 seconds naming games, and you're just like, oh man, yeah, oh my god, that game, yeah, I remember that. And you almost want to go back on your Xbox to see if you still got backwards compatible or not. You almost want to just jump back in, but then you go to 2022, and you just like, so there was Elden Ring, and there was Ragnarok, and then there was Pentiment. Exactly. It's like who came out there? Like, last year was bad, and partially the reason why this year is so good is because a lot of the heat that was supposed to come last year got delayed to this year. Yep. So yeah, I mean, this year's
a combination of a lot of variables. I get where you're going with that, Slow Mo. A lot of things had to fall into place to make 2023 what it is. So understanding that we still got phenomenal games from like January all the way through till today, right? So I think there's almost been like a Game of the Year every month, sometimes 2 in a month. You know what I mean? That almost never happens. I can't recall a year where we had almost a Game of the Year nomination, a legitimate one, not just a small group saying this is my favorite game, I love it. No, like universally, everybody's like, you know what? Here we got another one. So where are you at with your Game of the Year nominations currently? We'll go 1 through 3. I'm not going to.
I got my list.
You got your list? Okay, cool. And then just to make this even funner, to throw a twist, and you guys participate in this too, chat. To throw a twist, one game is going to get left out. We need it. So go ahead, Slow Mo.
Just one?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's gonna be a bunch. I mean, it's gonna be like 10 games, but
let me explain. I have when they do the nominees, I'm gonna make. I already got the idea planned to do a homage video for all the snubs.
Oh yeah,
Because I'm just gonna be playing like
yeah.
this game is so good. Let me just shout it out, even though it's not gonna be in the game of the year conversation. Let me just like I'm pretty sure it's gonna be about 5 or 6 games I'll be talking about. But no, so all right, so we just doing a round table of like we all speak on one, and then
no. You'll do your 3. You'll do your 3. Your top. Well, 6. I'm sorry, because there's 6, right? There's 6.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
sorry.
6.
6 nominations.
6.
I apologize. 6. And then
are
one
we doing personal PTK, or are we doing what we think is going to happen?
No, just personal. Just your personal. No, personal.
Oh,
okay.
that changes
That's why I
things.
clarified.
Hold on.
That's why I clarified. There you go, slow-mo.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. Hold on. Let me go now. Let me go. All right. Can I not go first? Because I got my list of what I think is going to be. I don't have my personal list. So give me a second.
No, okay. Go ahead. We'll start with you, Pong.
Personal list. Well, this is going to be difficult. Well, you know how I do this because, see, this is going to be difficult though, because I don't know if I played 6 of the greatest games this year. I'm trying to think how I can pull this off. Because then I get out. I mean, I can go outside the box because I don't care. I don't
I'm
have
definitely going out. Pong. Pong.
Yeah.
Kick that box over. You go outside that box, sir. Because I'm going outside the box for certain.
Okay.
I'll tell you that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, if this is personal, then obviously I start with Starfield because obviously that's my game of the year. That's my game of the generation so far. It is what it is. So, I got to have Starfield in there. So I'm going to go Starfield, Baldur's Gate 3, obviously another generational type game that I've played this year that I absolutely love. Then I'm going to go Diablo 4 is in there because, again, this is personal. So Diablo 4 definitely is up there for my game of the year. And then it gets really tough. Hogwarts Legacy. Definitely got to put that up there for this year as well. Oh boy. Okay, so then I'm going to go outside the box here. Those are the games that I've played that I would put in my game of the year. But then I got to go outside of that, right? So then I got to think to myself, what else is going to be included in there? Tears of the Kingdom is for sure going to be in there.
Definitely.
Tears of the Kingdom is definitely going to be in there. And Alan Wake 2. From what I've seen. Yep. Alan Wake 2 is something.
That's 5, right? I think you got 5.
I got 5? Okay, I need one more.
That was 5. Yeah.
Okay, I need.
So just a refresh: Starfield, Baldur's Gate 3, Alan Wake 2, Diablo 4, and we're missing one.
Starfield.
Hogwarts.
Starfield.
Hogwarts.
You already said it's Hogwarts. Go ahead.
Yep. Okay. All right. So then my 6th one. And this is probably going to go to a smaller title. Oh boy, maybe not. There's so many good games this year. You know what? I'm gonna go on a limb here, and I'm gonna say Nintendo gets 2. So Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Ooh, how did I know you were gonna say that? I knew you were gonna say Super Mario. Okay. You think Nintendo gets 2? I mean, they got a legitimate shot.
Bro,
I mean, both 90 plus Metacritic.
It's
95.
Nintendo.
Yeah, I mean.
If there's anything more guaranteed, it's that. Again, if Mario Wonder doesn't get in there, then Spider-Man obviously could sneak in there. So, if Nintendo doesn't get 2, if they say, nope, Nintendo gets 1, and we got to have representation for Sony, then Spider-Man 2 gets in there for sure.
We always talk about the voting, but I hope it's not like that. And it's hard to hard to Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's human beings, right? These are still human beings. We know how the media rolls, right? A lot of the media is this way. They think of this stuff while they're doing this, and so I do believe it's potential. It's that could happen there. That they would do something like that. So that's why I said that.
Okay, Slow-Mo. So you might have got some, you might have been able to steal some off of his list. So hopefully that helped.
I may not have. Look. This is my personal list. Okay, so look, I don't need people to be like, "You gonna play that game, man?" Yes, I am. It's my list, not your list. It's the Slow-Mo list. Okay, so this is in no particular order. Spider-Man 2. I just finished it. It's on my mind. Great story. Really enjoyed it, despite the MJ shenanigans and the bugs. But I really enjoyed it. It was great. I think it's the best Spider-Man game that Insomniac has made. I can't go back to the other ones. Not after the changes they made to the combat and everything. It's just, yeah. So when they come out with DLC, or even when they come out with the new game plus, I'm jumping back in. I'm beating it again just because that's how much I enjoyed it. Number 2 on my list is Hogwarts Legacy. I beat that twice, by the way. I beat it with a Slytherin, which is the best house, of course. And then I beat it with a Ravenclaw, which is my personal. I've done the personality test. I'm a Ravenclaw, so it is what it is. But I beat it with both. Really I loved the magic and the abilities. The combat was so good. The open world was just so dynamic and fun. I would just go around and just attack people, smash their head against the ground. It's funny because you play the game and they say here are the unforgivable curses, and I feel like those are like pity curses. These are like hit you with that. Like instant death is way better than being burned. Be blowing someone up, turning someone into an inanimate object, and then blowing it up is way worse. Or like turning someone into a little tiny little thing and then stepping on them. I mean, like so many ways. But I enjoyed the game so much, and it really captured the Harry Potter universe. It's like it's like Hogwarts, the actual school. It's literally just like it in the movies. Like in the way they captured amazing. Yes. So good, so good. I just wish that the political side of things weren't the way they were, because I feel like it's not going to get any kind of recognition, despite it being such a high quality game and being the most best sold game overall this year. That I don't think it's going to get any kind of consideration due to the other side of things that are problematic for it. But loved it. Next on my list is Remnant 2.
Ooh, good one.
Good, my dark horse. Way to go. Yes.
Oh, Remnant 1, awesome. They like all the criticisms of the first one. They said, okay, bet we'll make it better, and it is better in every single way. This is like the definitive, in my opinion. Well, before Eliza P came out, the definitive Dark Souls-ish game. A game that takes elements of Dark Souls and From Software, but it's not actually made by From Software. Their boss fights are epic. That last boss fight to beat the game, oh my! They was in their bag, man. It was not easy. It wasn't. No. Of course, none of the boss fights in this game are easy, but it's just like, good grief, bro! Like, what were y'all on when y'all came up with this? So I really enjoyed that game. I enjoyed the shooting elements of it, and just it's different approach to a format that everyone's pretty much familiar with. Next is a game I think most people aren't even aware of, but I'm gonna shout it to the rooftops because this game is awesome. It's called Showgunners. You guys heard of it?
Nope, never heard of it.
I can't say I have.
Chad, have you guys heard of Showgunners?
Imagine you have an XCOM game in the format of the Running Man.
Okay, you got me interested here. Go ahead.
The Running Man, where you got people competing in a competition that's to the death, and you got champions, and you got all kinds of people. They literally tell inmates, we will commute your sentence if you survive this thing. And they got them in the game, like in this game, fighting for survival. And it's a TV show where the entire world idolizes the people who are literally murdering other people. But it's in an XCOM style of game where each character that you get has their own unique set of abilities. Like this is one guy I get, Tybalt, where he can go he uses image software that can he can impersonate the other side, like other enemies, and then have one of the other enemies he's impersonating look like him. So they start shooting at the wrong people, and then he can hack stuff. He's great, and it's like every person that you get, that you add to your squad is so completely different. It brings a different dynamic. I love XCOM games, period. So any XCOM game I see, I jump on. But this one was in particular awesome. And by the way, I'm gonna get the lead director is going to come on DPS one day soon and talk.
Nice,
so
dude. Awesome.
I just
it's
watched
awesome
the
game.
video slow-mo and added to my wish list on Steam. So thank you, sir.
Pong, play it. Oh
Yes,
my
I will.
God, play it. I got Cognito. The jump with Cognito was like, this looks interesting. I might jump it. I'm telling you, if you like XCOM games, you will like this game. Visually, underrated visually. Like they really nailed a visual aesthetic that is not photorealistic, but you can definitely tell will kind of stand the test of time and looks great. Like it's a great art direction. It's an awesome game. I love it. Number 5 is Starfield, the only Bethesda game that I've ever enjoyed. Starfield.
Congratulations, sir.
I know, right?
Thank you.
Make sure that gets
The
that
first is always special, sir.
right.
So
You
congratulations.
get +5 points. Starfield gets +5 points for that being your experience. So,
The rest of them I have dropped before 5 hours.
I hate to
This
hear
is
that,
the
but
one-
okay. All right.
This is the one where I was like, okay, I'm in this. And I still have it installed because I beat it. I'm in New Game Plus. I finished a couple of the story, the action quest lines. My favorite was Freestar Collective. But I still want to do more in New Game Plus. I'm not gonna spoil what New Game Plus is really about, but it's still installed so that once we get some of these bangers from releasing and I get a little bit of free time, I can actually go back into it and play around there. But Starfield is on my list, and my last game on the list. This one's definitely going to be out of left field. And again, Slow-Mo's list.
Yep.
Slow-Mo's list. Okay. Yep. Telltale's The Expanse.
Very nice.
okay.
I
nice.
really, really enjoyed it.
That's
I'm
different.
glad Telltale's back. And this one is solid. It's not as good as their A Wolf Among Us or Tales from the Borderlands or the first season of The Walking Dead, but it's damn solid. It's damn good. They really capture the Expanse universe. And Kamina Driver is awesome. She's well written in the actual TV show, and their writing has not taken a dip whatsoever since they have gone and come back. Although it's under new management, but they have a lot of the same old talent from the Telltale they brought back. So it's there. So if you like their previous games before they went under, you would like this one. I really enjoyed it. It was very good. Awesome 5 episodes. So that one that's my top 6.
Okay. All right. And
Yeah.
Pong, you didn't give the one that you didn't think would make it. Like one that you would
Oh,
leave
I
out.
didn't either.
Well,
Yeah.
if we're doing realistic here, the one
Yeah.
that's going to get snubbed, right? And I've kind of resigned myself to this fact. But if we're being realistic, if we're honestly going to say what's going to get snubbed here, I think Starfield is going to get snubbed. So
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Doing what we think is going to happen. And now
realistic.
okay.
Yeah, realistically, from what with this year being the way it is, with the reviews, the way that they were handled with Starfield,
Crazy.
I have a feeling that Starfield is going to get snubbed this year. So
I agree. Unfortunately, I agree.
I'm resigned.
Unfortunately, I agree with that too. It's kind of, I mean, it is what it is. Like you said, the review thing is going to play a huge part in that. Like the discontent, whether it's real or not, a lot of it's contrived and fake. But all of that, go ahead.
Here's what I'll just say. On an average year, I think it gets in. In this year, I think that the reviewers will find more reasons to leave it off than they will find reasons to put it in. In an average year, I think it reverses and they find more reasons to put it in than they find to put it out, right? I think that's what's going to happen this year mentally wise. Again, maybe I'm reading too much in it. Maybe it's just because of my disappointment with some of the reviews and how that was handled in a lot of ways. But I've resigned myself to that fact. Again, that I think that's what's going to happen this year. So,
all right, where you at with yours, Slow-Mo?
I'm gonna say Hogwarts Legacy will get snubbed. I think Starfield gets in. I think Starfield sneaks in.
I hope you're right.
I hope you're right. Too.
I think
it deserves the nomination, man.
I think Hogwarts Legacy is deserving of a nomination, but I don't think it's going to get it for a lot. Like I said, political reasons before.
But besides the
yeah.
political reasons, slow-mo, another thing which it tends to happen is that it was early in the year too.
Oh,
So,
no, that's a
although so was Elden Ring. So
it's more than that. Actually, it was on DPS. I had Kay Asante on, and they were saying Kay and Game Inforce, they were saying the same thing. Oh, it's the recency bias that will make some of these games not get in. I did the research right there on the show. The majority of the winners came out before June.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not just Elden Ring. I went through it. Elden Ring, The Last of Us Part 2 1, that came out in like April. God of War was April. It Takes Two was in June.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, it was early. No, March. It was March.
Yeah,
the majority in the past decade. Well, since 2014, since the Keeley started, only 1 year has the winner been after July.
Interesting.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Very interesting.
That's some crazy data. So I guess you know what?
So it kind of makes me think that the people who vote on this, they already know what their game of the year is before we even get into this fall period, this fall season. Out. Yeah, before they even send it out, they already know what they're going to choose.
Yeah. This year's going to be another after June.
So, I was going to say this definitely. I just think this year might be an exception though. And now,
unless Tears of the Kingdom. When did Tears come out? May, right?
That was May.
Yeah,
that was May. So that's the only one that could continue that trend. But I think my silver lining to Starfield getting snubbed, realistically looking at it, Baldur's Gate 3 wins this year, and I think that is a silver lining if Starfield gets snubbed, because Baldur's Gate 3 flew in the face of what the common sentiment is, the popular sentiment is among publishers and developers, that turn-based games are dead, that you have to make things more accessible to get a wider audience. I love it. I will love it if Baldur's Gate 3 takes it all. So that's
I guess
Rise of Me and Baldur's Gate 3 did take it. I think it's deserving. It's deserving. I haven't beat it yet. I need to get back. I need to finish it. But yeah, it's such a high quality title, and I think Larian's kind of due. They've been dropping nothing but heat their entire existence, and they've never really been acknowledged outside of the RPG genre, and it's about time,
It's good. It's good. So I guess I'll go before Fuzz. Do my list. So I guess I'll make this pretty quick. So Starfield, obviously, I thought that's my game of the year, in my opinion. I mean, I think it does. It had the most pressure of any game. I don't even think it was close. Right, I think we can all agree as far as like expectations. Now, whether or not it lived up to expectations, that's all subjective, right? But I think for me, and I'm with you on this, slow-mo, I am a brand new Bethesda guy. Like I've dabbled in Bethesda games before, and nothing really got me. This one got me. And me and Pong, we've had a long conversation. He knows how I feel about Starfield, so that's definitely in there for me. It's my game of the year personally. Now I do agree, Pong, that it probably gets left out, unfortunately. I do think it deserves at least a nomination based on just the impact and what it did for Xbox. You know what it did for it was the most talked
nominated in other categories
all year.
Right?
Yeah,
right.
I mean
that's what's going to happen. They're going to give it music, right? They'll do that kind of stuff
and all that
exactly,
kind of
exactly.
I get it. It's on my list. It's my game of the year. So I'm Diablo 4 is on there. That was probably my game of the year before Starfield came out. Admittedly, so that's on there for me. Tears of the Kingdom, I haven't played it, but it's got to be on there for Nintendo. I don't know about the 2 Nintendo thing. I mean, Super Mario, the Wonder was amazing. What, 95 Metacritic, 94, something crazy like that. Universally praised, probably going to sell 10 million by the end of, by halfway through next month. So I don't know. I mean, it's recent. People love the game. Has there ever been two Nintendo games up in the same year? I don't think there's ever been.
I don't think so. No. There's always been like just one, I think.
There's always been one, right? So this is even rare for Nintendo, right? To have 2 game of the year quality games in 1 year. But this is like you said, Pong, this is not a regular year either. So we gotta be honest about that too. So Baldur's Gate 3 is on my list. Now, I haven't played it, but just the impact is too big. I mean, it's too big. It's done too much for that genre. It's redefined that genre. It's pretty much did what Elden Ring did for like the Soul stuff. It did it that
I was
Baldur's Gate
wrong.
3.
In 2017, Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey were in there together.
Okay. So okay, so I didn't know that. Chat. So
Yeah.
he just updated us on that. So Odyssey. Okay, cool. So that's what 4 for me. I think 4 or 5, one of the two. What else do I have in there? What else do I think is gonna make it? I haven't played Alan Wake 2, but from what I'm hearing about it, it's I haven't heard a single bad thing. Everything's been extremely impressive. Everything I've seen, everything I've read. I haven't watched anybody play it yet. I probably will jump on Twitch or something. Who knows? Maybe watch somebody's playthrough on YouTube. That probably will get in there. It feels like Remedy is due as well too. This is kind of their. This is kind of quiet as kept. Pong, slow fuzz. This is quite. It's kind of a redemption year for a lot of devs, right? Right? Can we kind of say that? I think you guys would agree with that. So Larian, one of those devs, redemption,
or finally getting their due.
They're finally getting their just due. Right? Correct. There's a lot of devs. So
correct.
I think they, absolutely they're on there.
CDPR redemption year. I'll give them that.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I don't think that makes the list.
No, they won't do it. But yeah,
maybe in a
they
can't. It can't.
No,
it
can't
do that.
It
can't do that. Right.
So yeah.
No matter how good the expansion is, it's just an expansion. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I got one more. Okay. Let me see here. Did I not say? I already said Tears of the Kingdom, right?
Yep, you did.
Yep. Okay. Let me see here. What am I missing? I don't think that makes it. I don't think that makes it either. I don't think that makes it on the list. Okay, so I'm gonna go out on a limb list, so you guys might not. But I think maybe Jedi Survivor sneaks on the list.
Okay.
I think Jedi Survivor sneaks on the list. Some people will be like,
really?
It might be a little controversial, because there's so many other good games.
It could be a makeup nomination.
It could be a makeup nomination too. Yeah, I mean, it kind of saved face with the.
It did get snubbed in Fallen Order.
Yes, Fallen Order.
And the reviewers absolutely loved it.
Exactly,
so
everybody loved it for the most part.
It.
Yep. Exactly, it got a high meta. That's obviously that's a big deal when it comes to this. So I think that does it. So as far as what I think that doesn't make it, I said Starfield. I think I don't want to say Starfield anymore. Though.
No, I don't want to, but
I don't want to say that. Hogwarts is probably Starfield tied. I'd say. I think Hogwarts early in the year, the controversy around it too. That didn't help. But it is being the highest selling game of the year got to mean something, right? Like how much credit do you give it? Do you give the game for that, right? So. But I think those two are probably tied for games that don't make the nominations, unfortunately. So go ahead, Fuzz.
All right, for me, I'll start off with what I would like to see, and I know one of them is definitely not going to make it. I mean, Forza is not going to make it on the Game of the Year nomination. That's a given.
No, I don't think
it didn't do as well as what do you call it, Horizon 5.
If it scored 100, Fuzz, it still wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Wow.
They made that clear.
Yeah, we're not even going to go down that road. The same thing with
Spider-Man
Street Fighter.
as well,
I think Street Fighter although some people will prefer Mortal Kombat, and neither one of those are going to really get the nod as far as a Game of the Year type of thing. But I'll start off with the ones that I wanted to see or would like to see make it, and ones that I've played, and then some of them I haven't played that I'm pretty sure will be there. So Hogwarts Legacy, played it, loved it, hope it's there. Diablo 4, played it, loved it, hope it's there. Starfield, played it, loved it, hope it's there as well. But games that I haven't played, Baldur's Gate 3, I think it's that indie darling that punched way above its weight class as far as what it was able to produce, and it showed as far as the reviews and the feedback from the audience that played it. So I think that one definitely makes the stage. Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom definitely makes the stage, and I'm gonna say more recently, Alan Wake 2 makes the stage also because it's not an indie darling, but it is like kind of in between that major studio versus indie studio kind of thing.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I'm So I'm sitting here trying to think of my. So I said Alan Wake 2 as well too. That was on my list, I believe. Pong for slow. But I'm kind of. Well, so you'd have Alan Wake 2 over Spider-Man 2? Now I know you haven't played Spider-Man 2 either, correct?
Yeah, I haven't played it yet.
So go ahead.
I think it makes it. Well, let me. That would be on what I would say is my list. Not having Spider-Man 2, but I think as far as the ones that actually make the list, Tears of the Kingdom, Spider-Man 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield actually makes it. Super Mario Brothers Wonder actually makes it. And then Alan Wake 2 actually makes it. Diablo 4 gets snubbed, Final Fantasy gets snubbed, and Star Wars gets snubbed.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I hope Star Wars gets snubbed. Let me put that out there.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, not as much as Fallen Order, but I just hated the fact that it got high review scores and it was dog shit when it came out. Like, that's unacceptable. Oh, well, they said they were going to patch it. They patched it and it was still dog shit for like a couple of months. So
you mean the performance stuff? Yeah.
I hate played it and to roll credits, so I would never have to touch it again, and I will never touch another EA product ever again.
They didn't fix the performance until like 5 months later.
Yep.
Yeah,
and that's on PC because on console it's still not the hottest. But like the fact that they why they force ray tracing on consoles, knowing the consoles can't handle that ashy. You force this ashy ray tracing on people on consoles, and then it just kills the performance. What was the purpose?
Yeah. It just was.
I still haven't beat that game. Yeah,
no, I finished it. I've never hate played a game, but that was my first hate play. I paid money for it, and I regretted it ever since. And roll credits, and I'm like, I'm done with EA. I'm done with EA. I'm done with critics in general for that. Like, oh, they said they're going to patch it and you didn't dock it. I understand you love the IP and whatnot. You took their word that they were going to fix it. It's like every last reviewer should lose their job for the fact that you took
you giving out 92s and 93s.
It should have been 79s and 80, like low 80s at best until it was patched. Like, you took EA's word, the piece of crap company that couldn't get Battlefield 2042 right out the door. You took their word. Like, how many EA games have released broken over the years and you took their word that they were going to fix it? I'm done. Like, that I hope it does not make it. Like, it's a shame that Jedi Fallen Order didn't get, the nod before, but if Star Wars, Survivor gets the nod, like whatever award ceremony listed, they're off the list for me as well. Like, that shit should not make any list. I'm sorry. I know it sounds like a little heated or personal, but I took it personal that game was as broken as it was and still got high scores. But yet, they've dragged a few other games through the mud over lesser offenses. But I don't know. I think Starfield actually makes it, and the reason why, and it's going to probably sound like a pity employee, but I think they do give at least one Xbox title a nod.
You think so?
I think they do.
I don't know, man.
I think at this point, if they don't, they know that player base is growing, and considering how well that did just being on that one player or ecosystem, yeah, they could ignore it, but then it's going to make everything that they do moving forward less, I wouldn't say less relevant, but it's not going to garner that same growth of audience if you consistently ignore that end of things.
Well, I agree that it makes it for all those reasons that you just said. Like, I think it absolutely deserves to make it. Like, we were just talking, like, it's on my list personally. Like, it should make it for the impact alone and for what it did and for being the most ambitious game that's come out this year. And I don't think it's close, and still pulling off, and making an amazing game, way better than I could have ever expected. The most complete Bethesda game that I think any Bethesda actual fan, will agree to. The most complete, bug-free Bethesda game probably ever made, and it's actually one of the best releases this year. Like, can we acknowledge that? Would you agree with that, Slow Mo Pong? It's one of the most, one of the best releases, like, as far as bug free. It didn't really have a whole lot of problems. You know what I mean? Like it really it dropped in a great state for the most part. Like I agree, Buzz.
Yeah, like if the way it released, I mean, yeah, it has its bugs, but like I've only encountered like a couple of like immersion breaking bugs, but then again, I'm doing like actually now I'm up to 5 simultaneous playthroughs because 2 of them are busted. But all of them are like over a level 100. All of them are like, well, actually, one is walked away from a certain ending, and then the other ones are working towards that. But that's part of what broke one of them. But it has so much going for it as far as from a base game having a new game plus pretty much already incorporated in the future or the progression of the game, having it where you can truly play it almost any way you want and switch things up, a few times, even through that same playthrough or through other follow throughs or new game plus and so forth. But I think it's one of those that you still see people talking about it, whether it's in a negative light or a positive light. It's still on a lot of people's lips as far as when it comes to the gaming space right now. So it's definitely deserving. I think the review scores, it was pretty much like one outlet, well, 2 outlets, but one major outlet that has more of a weighted voice. That was the detriment of that having
IGN,
a
I think.
better,
Wasn't it
yeah,
IGN?
because PC Gamer, if I'm not mistaken, I think they also gave it a low score, but that's from the same, house or same media group. So that whole outlet just basically docked that thing at least a full 5, if not more points, as far as what its overall score would be. So I think with a lot more reviewers out there giving it a better review, and those also being the same ones that do the voting for like game of the year when it comes to the Keeleys, I think it'll do better. And we'll see in other award ceremonies where it'll be recognized, like the Dice Awards and BAFTA and things like that. So I think it'll definitely earn some trophies, although it depends as far as if it'll win the actual game of the year with the Keeleys. I think it's a Baldur's Gate battle to lose kind of thing. Like everybody else, I mean, even Tears of the Kingdom definitely has its challenger with Baldur's Gate, I think. But those are the, like, I would say, the front runners right now, more than likely. But this is a tough year.
Yeah,
Like I
very.
said, I don't think Diablo 4 makes it. Like it's one of
Yeah.
those that should, but it did have a hiccup, although they've made up for it since the most recent update type of deal. But it's kind of fallen on the wayside. It doesn't have, unless it kind of like this season 2 really pushes things to the you know being like a trending point or something like that. I don't think it will get the nod for it this year, or get the nod at all this year. But Hogwarts is one of those that I rather see Hogwarts make it, despite the controversy or whatever, over Jedi Survivor. That's just my 2 cents on it. But we'll see how it pans out. But it's going to be a tough year for anybody voting on Game of the Year. I think no matter what platform you prefer, where you play, or what award show, it's a stacked year in general. And I wouldn't be surprised if we talked about it before, if they have to extend it from 6
To 8.
possibly, but who knows if they even go that far at this point.
Yeah. I
I
doubt
don't
it.
think they will.
Yeah,
I don't think they
I don't think
want
they're gonna do that either. I don't think Keely's
to.
gonna.
Yeah, I
I
think they're
pose
going
that
to keep it
should.
at 6.
They should.
I mean, you'd
He's
have to
dumb
do
not
it.
to.
You'd
He's
have to
dumb
do
not
it
to.
every year going forward, though. Wouldn't you have to keep it that way?
Yeah,
though,
but that's
Paul?
fine. That's what we're lining up for. The next 3 years at least are going to have this many qualifications. Plus, on the years where there isn't as many AAA games that hit, that just opens it up for more indie games to slip in there, which Keeley loves as well, and which a lot of people love, right? So I think it just makes sense. The industry is growing. The industry is getting so big, and now that we're out of the pandemic, now that everything's back to full, hype mode and go mode with all these studios out there, I think he can legitimately do it without a worry that there's going to be years like we had in the past, let's say 5-6 years, where maybe there wasn't necessarily a strong 8. I think he can certainly do it now with safety. I think that.
So what's the magic number? What's the magic number you increase?
I think 8. I think 8 is. Yeah, I said 8 as well. Yeah,
8, and I think is the number. Yep.
Yeah. And you just keep it there, like you bring it up to 8. Yep. You don't go any lower than that. Okay.
Right. That's what I think you do.
Because at one point they were just doing 5.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
It was 5 every year, and then let me see where it went up to 6. It hit 6 in 2018. Looks like.
There you go. Yep. So it's been 5 years.
Then it was 6 ever since then.
So, chat, what do you guys think about adding 2? We've talked about this on the show before as well, Pong. I'm glad you brought this up.
Yep.
What do you guys think about Keeley adding 2 additional nomination, like two additional slots for the Keeleys for the Game of the Year? So, is that all categories or just the Game of the Year category?
Game of the Year.
Just Game of the Year. Okay, I just want to make sure we're clear on just Game of the Year. Okay.
So some of the other ones get less or more depending on the category. Like sports usually is just like, I mean, how many sports games came out that year? And even adding racing into sports, even though like it's kind of like sort of there, but
I think that's the whole thing, Slow-Mo, right? Putting it up to 8, right, gives you so many different options on even average years to include indie games. Maybe a racing game does finally slip into the Game of the Year if a Horizon comes along or something like that when you've got 8, right? I think that just gives you more flexibility overall. It increases the interest. Now, I'm not the dude. Again, I'm too old. I go old school. Not everybody gets an award, folks. Not everybody gets to get an award, right? I'm not like that,
no
right?
Participation trophy?
Yeah, no participation trophies.
We're not trying to make it that way.
No, I'm not trying to make it that way at all, but I think it does open up opportunities. Let me do a follow-up question real quick while we're on this topic of Game of the Year. What is everybody's stance? I know we've talked about this before, but I'm curious where everybody is right now in 2023. We've seen the type of year we're having, and I want to get Slow-Mo's conversation on this as well. So I'll start with you, Slow-Mo. What is your feeling on remasters and remakes getting up for Game of the Year?
Remasters, no. Remakes, yes. And it determines on the quality of the remake. So like Resident Evil 2 remake, heck yeah, that's deserving. Final Fantasy 7 remake, which really isn't even a remake if you play the game,
correct,
deserving. Freaking the Last of Us. I don't think is this the Last of Us remake. I don't think the part 1, if you want to call it, I don't think that's deserving. It's not enough of a difference there to really make it. Now I would say
Dead Space.
Dead Space is deserving.
People were saying that. Yeah. So I've thought about that as well.
Okay, I'm against it, right? I'll just say this up front before I go to you, PTK and Fuzzy. Real quick, I'm against it, right? But what I was trying to get at here is for somebody like Slow-Mo, and I'm sure there's plenty of voters out there who agree, right? Like Resident Evil 4, Dead Space this year, a lot of people probably think they're deserving. Moving it up to 8 also opens it up for those as well, right? That gives you more flexibility overall. That's why I was bringing that up, and I think it's an interesting conversation.
But even in a year like this year, I don't think you should add them this year. I don't think Resident Evil 4 remake or Dead Space remake should be in it this year, because there are brand new titles that are either just as good as they were or better. And I don't think so. In those years where it's lighter, absolutely have them in there, and I think I actually kind of like back. I can't remember what year Final Fantasy 7 remake came out, but that was my favorite game. That was my choice that year, I believe. And I know a lot of people really loved the Resident Evil 2 remake when it came out that year because it was that good. It was that well made. But I think in a year like this year when you got so much heat and there's going to be so many snubs that you can't put a remake in there.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that's the hard part about that conversation is where do you draw the line? How do you determine what's worthy to one voter versus another voter of what should be in there, right? Like, again, it's an interesting conversation to have, and I agree with you, but if voters wanted to vote for it this year, would it be allowed? Like that's what it's just
so like
different now
kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's just different how the voting the reviewers, the people that do have the power, how they feel about it would really determine it at the end of the day of whether or not it gets in there. But I like Slow-Mo said, like some you say don't deserve it, but some you could say do. But where do you draw that line? Because if you open it up for remakes, let's say you just open it for remakes, you say if it's not a remaster, right? Then what we're gonna have is we're gonna have publishers and devs who remaster a game but call it a remake. Right, they call it a remake just to try to slip it in there, right? So I think that's why I'm against it more so. I think I'm against it flat out, and I'll go to you, PTK, next, or I'll go to Fuzzy. I'll go to PTK next. I'm flat out against it because I think that it's kind of cheating because you take a great game, you remake it. You already have a baseline in the story. And I know, Slow-Mo, your comeback's going to be, well, Final Fantasy, they changed a lot of stuff. They rewrote a lot of stuff. It's not the same game, as you just said, right? But I think that you have a baseline popularity with that game. You already have a rabid fan base. You already have something that's already been established previously that you're just redoing. And yes, I understand that sometimes you redo it a lot. Sometimes you don't redo it a lot. But I think that is kind of cheating. You have already a great game and you're using that as your baseline. So I don't think it's deserving to be back up for Game of the Year. I think Keighley should create another category for it because we are getting so many that I think he should have a remaster remake category and put games in there and have that as another award. But I personally would not allow them in there. That's just my take on it. PTK, I heard you're kind of in the same vein, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Same. That it's a known quantity. You already have an audience. It's built in. Like, how could you give that an award for Game of the Year? I'd much rather give that to a new
something
IP.
New.
Yeah, something brand new, a new IP, not a known quantity, something that actually had to,
or sequel.
Or a sequel. Sequel's
right.
fine too. I mean, sequel's a bit of an exception. I mean, I think because it can be different. It can go either direction. You can be a direct chip off the old block, or you can go somewhere left with a sequel and be a completely different game. So I think I'm okay with sequels, remakes, remasters. No way, Jose. I think you can't, like, it's a known quantity. It already has a built-in fan base. I don't care how good you did it or how much you rewrote it. It's already something that's like, it's already been reviewed. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if Resident Evil that was a 95 rated game. It couldn't go anywhere, but all you had to do was start there. If you build on that, it's minimum 95. So I can't give that a trophy now. You know what I'm saying? So it feels odd to me to do that. And but yeah, so I'm definitely with you on this one, Pong. No way, Jose. Remasters or remakes.
Okay. And Fuzzy, what's your thoughts?
I'm devil's advocate. I will look at a remake or even a reboot on the same lines as a sequel. Like, I'm fine with a remake or reboot.
Fair.
Remaster, no. Because if you're just redoing visuals, that's great. But like you said, it's at that point it's the same exact story. But remakes, when done properly, because not all remakes are equal kind of thing. Yeah. If they're going in and changing enough of the mechanics and updating things, like,
let me throw you a curveball right here, Fuzzy. Let me throw you a curveball. Mass Effect Legendary Edition. They really changed how number one plays.
Yeah.
Would you count that in there?
This is where it gets dicey.
Yes.
I kind of would want to, but it's in a like kind of like what Slow-Mo said. In a year like this, no. A year like this, if that was to be released this year, no. But on a slower year, I would say it would be more. I would be more lenient to give it a nod. But like, if it's just like the GTA remasters, that's totally not. Like, even the Red Dead Redemption one, those are totally not what I would
Metal
want
Gear,
to see.
Konami.
Oh, heck no.
Yeah, exactly.
No way.
those are the bad examples that should not even be up for consideration. But when you go above and beyond in redoing the environment, redoing some of the storyline, or some of the outcomes are slightly changed, or the mechanics are a good bit different, or there's now, because of technology, there's added things to it, whether it's part of the atmosphere and visuals and things like that, I think those can add to it. But in a year where you have already, like we've already talked about, like games that should not be, or they will wind up getting snubbed, that's a year when you're worried. Well, not worried, but when you're counting a number, numerous amount of titles that are going to get snubbed. That's not a year when a remake or reboot should even really be kind of in that ballpark at that point. But a year when it's like, all right, there's 3 titles that everybody agrees should be nominated, and then there's kind of like this indie, darling here, and this, sequel here, and those are great. But yeah, that's when you can kind of say, okay, well, we can kind of field fill with the remaining 3 with a remake or something to that effect, kind of thing. But yeah, it's a tough line to cross, or tough line to kind of toe, especially like what you said, where they'll just relabel remasters into remakes or director's cuts. I'm not poking any fun particularly at Sturdy, but it's like.
I think I mean a remaster. No one really, although Mass Effect Legendary Edition is just it's one of the best trilogies ever created, so that's why it sold so well. But 2 out of those 3 games really just got a touch up. Like they even changed game engines. It's still on Unreal Engine 3. Right. So it really just got a visual upgrade for it being on stronger hardware. And they made some common sense combat changes for Mass Effect 1 because the combat was so bad. It's not worthy of a nomination because not enough was changed. But when you look at something like I'll take Resident Evil 2 again.
Yep.
They changed the combat from those tank controls to something that's more modern. If you release the actual game as it was, as a remake, just visual upgrade, and that's it. It doesn't succeed as well. It isn't in today's market going to be as as well received because the combat and the gameplay isn't as fun because those controls were obsolete. I think when it comes to something like Final Fantasy, a remake, as you mentioned, Paul, and you because you knew I was going to say it, but it was a joke. It was more of a joke to call it a remake. They did that because they wanted, and it's been years now, so I can say this. They wanted you to think it was a remake. So when they started to hit you what was really going on, your eyes will bug out of your head because really what it is, it's a sequel. It's a continuation of the story. What's really is happening is that Sephiroth and Aerith know how it all plays out, and they're both trying to avoid their fate. So they are both playing with the timeline and playing with fate in order to make things different, which they succeed in, which is why Rebirth is going to be so completely different than what we actually played in the original Final Fantasy VII in those sections that we expect to be there. So it'll be some of it that's similar, but it's going to be so different because of the changes they've already made, and they've broken fate and they've made it their own. They can now write their own story and avoid getting killed potentially. So it's not a remake, and so it's eligible. And I mean, the combat is freaking amazing in Final Fantasy VII Remake. It is completely different than the turn-based old style. It's just so much that's different and so much that's done from a game that's over 25 years old. So this isn't like a visual upgrade. They had to make all new assets on a whole new game engine, all new character models, all new everything. Voice acting on everything because there was no voice acting in the original game. So much more done compared to, say, Mass Effect, where they use the exact same voice, like recorded voice lines. They didn't do nothing new, So it's so different that I think you have to kind of look at it beyond just where they call it, because if developers are thinking, if we can just call out remaster or remake, we'll get nominated, but it's really a remaster, no one's going to care. You're not getting nominated, bro. It's almost kind of like how we look at movies and they try to take an old movie that was a classic and redo it with bad actors and bad writing. Sorry. You're not the original. we know better. This was trash. You're not getting nominated, bro. So
I just think it's an interesting conversation, and I think it's one that's worthy because we are getting more remakes now. We'll just leave it at remakes. We're getting a lot of remasters too. But we are getting more remakes as we go forward in this generation. I expect it to continue. I don't expect it to be any different. Gaming is a little bit different. Doesn't seem like people are running out of ideas like we've seen in Hollywood lately, where they're going back more and more to the old, like Slow-Mo just brought up. But I think that we are going to see some more of the classics in video games with the success that Capcom for sure has found. And we'll see how Snake Eater does when Konami drops that. And, you know, I think we're going to see more remakes of some of those old fan favorites, and obviously Final Fantasy VII, but they changed so much, like Somo said. Even though I haven't played it, I certainly know enough about it to know how
Oh, man, I didn't told everything. It's all right.
No. I already know, because, again, spoilers don't bother me at all. I don't care.
Okay.
I looked at it when it first came out because I said until all three are out, I won't play it anyways, so I don't care. But again, I just think it's an interesting conversation going forward, because I think it is going to come up. I think there will be a year, unlike this year, where maybe a remake like a Dead Space or Resident Evil 4 does come along, and all of a sudden there's going to be a decision for Keighley to make if it slides in there. And I don't know technically if he's outlawed them. I don't know if maybe they are allowed. Maybe they're on the list that he sends out. But I just think we're going to hear about it more as we go forward, as some other games come back from the dead. So I think it's going to be an interesting conversation for Game of the Year.
All right, awesome. So great topic, man. We that one ran a little long, but it was a good topic, man. I'm glad we got that one out of the way. We definitely had two topics in there, kind of built in. Shout out to chat for participating in that. Appreciate you guys. Once again, hit the like button already. Subscribe if you have not, man. Appreciate you guys. Shout out to everybody in chat. Appreciate all the new faces. Thank you guys for coming out, hanging out with us. You guys are fucking awesome. So I'm throwing this over to my partners here. We probably gonna throw it over to you first, Pong. Okay. Where we going, man? What's next, bro? What we talking about?
Well, let's have some fun, because we did get a surprise Xbox show this week in the partner preview program, right? We actually have another Xbox show next week, everybody. And it's maybe one that you already heard of. It's called BlizzCon. But that is now first party. That is now an Xbox show. And I want to get into BlizzCon because Jez said that this irregular 2.5 hour opening to BlizzCon, this is not normal, folks. 2.5 hours that Xbox centric people would be wise to tune into it. Shout out to Jez and Rand. Shout out to Jez Gordon, Windows Central, and Rand over at Xbox 2. They talked about this. So he said it will be interesting for Xbox people to show up. And Rand followed up the question and said, what about PlayStation people? And he said, no, they probably won't enjoy it. So I want to get into this a little bit. For anybody who doesn't know, next week, November 3rd, on Friday, it starts, and then it runs in through Saturday, November 4th. I'll give you the times here. This is going to be on Blizzard's YouTube and Twitch channels. These are Pacific Standard Time, so it is going to start at 11 a.m. November 3rd is the opening ceremony. It runs for 2.5 hours, so it'll be 1 o'clock Central Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Time for all you guys. But we're going to have the opening ceremony. And then at 1:30 Pacific, it's going to be World of Warcraft, What's Next. 2:30, it's going to be Overwatch 2 Deep Dive. 3:30, it's going to be WoW Classic, What's Next. 4:30, Hearthstone, What's Next. 5:30, Warcraft Rumblings, which is the mobile game that Jasper told me about that I wasn't even aware. They have a Warcraft Rumble game. I had no idea. I thought maybe they were going to talk old school Warcraft RTS, but that doesn't sound like it. And then on Saturday, we've got a 12 p.m. start Pacific Standard Time. WoW Deep Dive, 1:30, Overwatch 2, What's Next. 2:30 is Diablo 4 Campfire Chat, and this is going to run for over 2 hours as well. And then we've got Community Night, and then we've got a K-pop band that I've never heard of. Sorry, I'm old. I don't care. That is going to perform. All right, so that's your BlizzCon schedule, but I want to focus in on this opening ceremony. ABK deal is done. It's officially announced. It is in the books, right? No matter what you want to think about it, that's what it is. Xbox now owns Activision Blizzard King. BlizzCon is gigantic. For anybody who doesn't follow along on the PC side of things, especially, BlizzCon has been a staple show each and every year. They have never done a 2.5 hour opening, ever. Phil has stated publicly he's never been to a BlizzCon before. And obviously he was just down there visiting Activision. So just this past week, he also visited Blizzard. He also visited King. This is going to be a big time. They've got a survival game called Odyssey, which is in the works. But I want to know everybody's thoughts here. And Slomo, I'm going to start with you. I know you're a PC dude. I'm sure you've probably played some Blizzard games in your lifetime. But for you, BlizzCon, now under Xbox, and of course, they're not going to change anything major. It's the same. It's whatever they had planned, they had planned. But when Jez says that Xbox people show up, I want to get your speculation. I want you to put your come into speculation town. Speculation town.
Oh, yeah.
This is a big year. Blizzard's got a little extra energy in their step.
I'm glad I'm going first.
Yep, you're going first. All right. What do you think is going to happen? Any surprises that you think that they are going to have for us next week from BlizzCon? And it doesn't have to be specifically Xbox related. I don't care. Just anything that you think Blizzard's going to surprise us with for BlizzCon this year. What do you think, brother?
I think that survival game that we heard about that was so highly regarded and so many people among Blizzard are really excited about. I think that is going to be shown. Yep. And I think the reason why they said that, hey, Xbox people show up because you guys might have something to be pretty excited about. They're going to announce that's only going to be on Xbox ecosystems.
Ooh, exclusive.
I love that.
Slow-mo, really?
Slow-mo,
a game like that? Okay, all right.
Within a month of the closing already. Right. Hey, look, it's gonna get they gonna get the same treatment that they did with ZeniMax Media. Hopefully, they're paying a little bit more attention to ZeniMax Media instead of just saying, "What's the Redfall?" All right, just cancel the PS5 version. We don't care.
Right.
No, care. Look, look at what the games are first before you just say. Whatever, just roll it out there without looking and saying just cancel PS5 version. But I think they absolutely went through and said, okay, so we're giving them COD. Yep. What else are we giving them? That's it? That's all we're giving them? Okay, the rest of that?
Yeah, no, listen, the FTC, the CMA said, hey, everything else is good. We don't care what you do with everything else.
You are now working on the PC and Xbox version. Just split the teams up. Just divvy them up. I don't care how, but the PS5 version, put that in the archive folder.
Okay.
Right now. Thank you. And that's gonna be the way it's gonna work.
Okay. Awesome. Anything else you think is gonna show up at all?
I think if they're doing expansions like DLC for Diablo 4, I expect to see that.
Yes.
I also
is the supposed expansion that's coming next year, so we should.
Right. So yeah, they might give us a trailer, like a high, CG'd up trailer,
of course.
that they normally do. I don't expect to see anything from Overwatch.
They got two shows there, but let me ask you this, Slomo. I'm not a huge Overwatch fan, but they've kind of killed it with the whole, they canceled the campaign single player mode, right?
Yes.
That they promised everybody. Do you think now under Xbox they revive it?
No.
Okay.
I think the community is I think the Overwatch community has now become the people who are just like, they are resigned to the way things are, and they're just going to keep playing the game.
They hate playing the game constantly.
Yeah, hate play the game. And then they're the people who are so burned by how Blizzard has done it.
Destiny crowd.
Yes, I didn't want to say it.
Hey, somebody got to put it out there. I'm sorry. Hey, look, I'm one of them. That's why I'm a victim.
They're Destiny fans. And then the other Overwatch people are like me when it comes to Destiny, where you burn me too many times. I'm never really coming back to your game ever again. And I think they recognize that they can't bring back the 2016 player base of Overwatch. It's over. Like, they're not coming back. And so maybe they might actually work on a new Overwatch that actually does everything that they said they was going to do.
Not a 1.5? Okay.
Not this 1 point. I don't even call it 1.5. 1.25. It's a quarter. It's a quarter of a sequel, like an actual, they call it Overwatch 3 or something, but it's too early. They can't announce that. Yeah. And it's too, and the wounds are too fresh for you to announce that and get any kind of good reaction. The next time you show up with something real Overwatch that you're doing, you need to don't tell us, hey, we're doing PvE story mode content and not show anything. No, you better show it, and it better look good. If not, don't even bother, because people are just going to look at you sideways because you already did this before.
Okay.
So I just don't see them doing anything substantial with Overwatch at BlizzCon. But I think the big thing is going to be, for Xbox fans, is going to be the survival game.
The survival game being announced exclusive. That would be giant.
Yeah.
Right. That would be a big deal. There's a lot of people inside Blizzard that's excited about this game. So I'm interested to see it. So I like it, Slomo. I like it. I wasn't expecting you to say it was exclusive, though. That did shock me. So thank you. That was definitely a good way to start this whole topic off, sir. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. Kong likes somebody who's committed.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes from left field like that. Heck yeah, man. Let's go. All right, Fuzzy, let's go to you next, sir. Fuzzy, what are you thinking about this show? This is now officially an Xbox show, whatever way you want to slice it and dice it. It is what it is. But Jez says we got to be a little excited. We should show up and watch that opening 2.5 hours. But I don't care where you go with this, Fuzzy, to be honest. If you want to stay away from the opening ceremony, what do you think is going to be coming out of this BlizzCon? What kind of surprises or anything that you're excited about that you want to hear about?
Well, I'll start off with something I would like to hear about would be like StarCraft Ghost or something along those lines, but I don't think it's quite in the cards just yet.
Yeah,
maybe a little too early, but I would love for that to be that left field thing. But I like Slow-Mo's idea as far as like the Odyssey game being, Xbox platform exclusive type of deal in PC. That would definitely set social media on fire. But I think the recent update on Xbox with the key bindings for like the adaptive controller and the Series 2 Elite controllers and things like that, where you can put more keyboard type commands to other button prompts. I think maybe just out of left field, maybe we get, World of Warcraft or some sort of older version or something like that on console. Just so that way now you can use a controller and have some of those keybinds that you need on your controller or whether it be the adaptive or the Elite controller. I know that'll probably upset some with like the basic controller, but man, I think that's one of the steps that they're at least trying to move forward. And you had talked about before them working on something like PC streaming. So hopefully we hear some words about that. More titles being able to be streamed onto console now that you have the availability to do those key bindings on your controller. Maybe that gets announced, as well as some of the other things that that they've already been talking about, whether it's Diablo 4, the season 3 stuff and things along those lines. But I think that recent update on Xbox is probably going to kind of tie into something that's going to be discussed at that BlizzCon. So, fingers crossed, we'll see.
Awesome, Fuzzy. Love it. World of Warcraft on console would be a huge announcement. I don't know if they're ready, but they have been working behind the scenes. There's limited controller support already that's been implemented on World of Warcraft. Some people claim that certain classes can't be done no matter how good it gets in obviously raids and that kind of stuff. It's just too much. But I think they're really trying here, and I think that key binding is a step forward in that direction for sure, even if it is limited to the Elite Series 2 for right now. I think it is a big step forward, and I think that does give us a glimpse of what Microsoft Xbox is looking at doing down the road, and that would be a big opening shot to say World of Warcraft is coming to console. Definitely a big moment, so love it. PTK Blam, peer into the crystal ball, sir. We're only less than a week out from Friday now, in this opening of this brand new Xbox show, which is old that they inherited, but it is one of the biggest shows going every single year that they do this. BlizzCon is on another level. Even if you haven't been aware of it, it is something special to watch.
I definitely have.
And they obviously have something extra special this year with that opening ceremony. So for you, what are you thinking here, sir? What do you think gets announced? What do you think surprises-wise is coming?
Shouldn't come as a surprise. I'm going all the way to speculation town on this one.
Yep.
And I don't know much about this survival game. It's fairly new to me. I'm sure it's been in our DMs. Maybe I missed it. I'm sure it's come up. Then in the timeline, maybe I missed it. But that sounds like a great goddamn surprise, in my opinion. And shout out to Jez. Shout out to Rand. Nobody's ever 100%. But if Jez is specifically saying
Yes.
Xbox guys, you guys might want to tune in.
Yep.
I mean, that sounds pretty like, that's pretty
Mhm.
certain that like there may be a good reason to watch the show. So, and if he's targeting, did he specifically say the opening ceremony?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so yeah,
He said we
that's
would definitely
way
be
too
interested in that. Yes.
that's way too specific. Like something's going to happen. It sounds like so. I think that'd be a great surprise. Announcing it to be exclusive would be even better. I love where you were at with that slow mo. I think that's a great surprise as well too. Why the fuck not? The FTC CMA said we're good with everything else. We don't give a shit what you do with all those other games.
Yep.
We don't care.
Right.
You can make them all exclusive. We do not care at all. It's not going to change things. Their main concern was obviously Call of Duty and the cloud stuff, which did get worked out. So that can definitely happen, regardless of how people actually feel about it. That is the reality. They can do whatever they want at this point with those other IPs, whether the IPs are already in development for all the systems or they're just concepts. Does not freaking matter. At this point, Xbox has the keys to the vehicle, so they can do whatever they want with those games. I do think I do want to see something from Diablo. The campfire stuff is always cool. We usually get some pretty big stuff at the campfire anytime they do that.
Let me throw this in here real quick, PTK.
Yeah.
Mike Ybarra, who has been very vocal recently, seems
had a tweet,
happy
right?
and excited. He had a tweet to Paul Tassi because
yeah.
Paul Tassi from Forbes wrote an article this week about how great season 2 of Diablo is and how people should jump back in. Something that I've been shouting from the rooftops that this is freaking awesome. But Ybarra quote tweeted Paul Tassi and said, Paul, I'm paraphrasing here, but said, Paul, glad to see you're having a great time. Wait until you see what we got or what we're going to talk about shortly. And he kind of changed that tweet later on and adjusted it. But obviously 2-hour campfire chat at BlizzCon, they've got some things up their sleeves. And it sounds like Ybarra's might even be more than the expansion, sir.
So I'm gonna go.
Yep.
I'm gonna go even further in the speculation town on this one for Diablo. Maybe we get a sneak peek of a new character, new class.
Yes, sir. That would come naturally with the new expansion.
With the new expansion, right? If we're talking season 3, full blown expansion, right? You talking about who knows where we're going with this, but maybe new map.
Yes, it would make sense if and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't played through the story yet of Diablo 4, the best story by far altogether of Diablo so far. It is actually a full-fledged, interesting story that they did with the main quest line, and what happens at the end suggests that there probably will be a new land that we go to. 1,000%.
I love it. Yep. I need both. I need it all.
Yep.
I need it all. So I'm going out on a limb. I'm saying maybe a trailer. Those are always really good. They always do those at BlizzCon. That's where we got the Lilith trailer and everything like that. That fucking phenomenal. And Blizzard, I just love. They could just be a studio that did trailers and survive on that alone. They didn't even have to make. They don't have to make video games. They could just make trailers for everything. They really should make movies.
Yes.
Xbox. That's a low hanging fruit.
That's not even a bad idea.
That's
honestly.
a low hanging fruit.
Insomniac has done it with Ratchet and Clank. Go on, I think Netflix and maybe Prime Video. You can find the Ratchet and Clank 2016 game as a full movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All the cutscenes.
They did,
all
and
together.
people have done that with Diablo 4 too,
well,
and it is worth it.
Together. Yep.
It is worth it because that team. I talked about this real quick, PTK, but I talked about this too, Slow-Mo. Their specialized CGI team. If I'm Xbox, one of the first thing I'm doing is going, you guys have a much bigger budget. Go hire as many people as you need, and you're going to go ahead and do the cinematics for all of our first party big games.
Yep.
Because that's how good they are. The Diablo 4 cinematics are unbelievable. Like I was literally like jaw on the floor during some of those cutscenes going, my God, I can't believe I'm witnessing this right now. And I think they should move into shorts, potentially Netflix stuff with their CGI. I think they're sitting on a gold mine right there.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely low hanging fruit in my opinion. So I'm going to go just to wrap it up here. I know we got to get to Fuzz. So I'm going to go, Diablo, obviously. So I think that's about it. I mean, anything else? Overwatch, I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know how much faith. I mean, my son plays Overwatch. He's part of that community, but they're all the same. They feel, like you said, it's like a I don't know, it's like a burden to play the game almost. You know what I mean? They play it, but it's almost like a burden. You know what I mean? So which is strange, right? You never want your fan base to ever feel that way. Shout out to Destiny. They kind of got us in the same boat, but Yeah, I think that's where I'm at with that. I'm
Okay.
kind of in the same boat as Slow Mo and Fuzz, kind of a mix. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Fuzz, we got Fuzz, so I'm gonna finish up here, and I'm going big, fellas. First of all, Phil's gonna be there. It's time to start
Yeah.
getting that imagery that this is now Xbox, right? That they are part of Xbox. I think Phil shows up for the first time. And they introduce him on stage. And I think he does a little speech about welcoming Blizzard to the Xbox family. I think that happens for sure during the opening ceremony. But I think that we're going even bigger. I love all your ideas, and I believe in all of your ideas are possible. But I think the opening ceremony, they announced StarCraft 3. I think that they announced this. This will melt the internet. For people who were never around when StarCraft was at its height and its peak, you don't maybe understand it is an RTS game, so obviously it's not for everybody. But StarCraft 3 announcement, because they need to start rebuilding the studio. I believe they've already started that process. I believe they probably have a smaller internal team coming together, but most of the original StarCraft team did leave to go form a new studio, and they're working on the game called Stormrise, I think it's called. I should have looked it up before. I did this morning, and I should have looked it up afterwards. But anyways, most of that team left when they said they weren't working on any more StarCraft, when they ended the support for StarCraft 2. I think they're rebuilding that team. I think that there's a lot of talent out in the industry now that can refill what they had. But I think that you've got to start somewhere, and announcing a teaser is not just for the fans. It nowadays is done way ahead of time, and Blizzard has always done this as a recruitment tool. And if you announce StarCraft 3 in your opening ceremony that you're going to bring it back, you will have people lining up to come work for you. And Blizzard has lost a lot of talent through the years. They've started a little bit of an upswing here. They've been doing much, much better with World of Warcraft, etc. Diablo 4 obviously hit big. They had stumbles, but now Season 2, seemingly, they figured out, they've corrected it. Overwatch is the other speed bump that's out there, but whatever. Slow-mo talked on that. But I think you announce StarCraft 3, you melt the internet, you start getting people to line up. And then I think for that team that they're going to build around StarCraft, to make StarCraft 3, this is years down the road. This isn't something that's going to be soon. But I think in the meantime, you get them back in and getting them working on StarCraft 2. You get updates for StarCraft 2. You say that you're going to bring potentially StarCraft 2 to console. And I think you reignite that hype train for StarCraft as you build towards getting ready to start working on StarCraft 3 if you have not already. And I think that would be a huge opening ceremony moment. We saw StarCraft being pushed by Phil when the ABK deal was announced. You also saw it in the welcome trailer. They did have StarCraft in there. This is future big plans. Ybarra has teased it on Twitter about a year and a half ago now. He teased it on Twitter. I think they're ready, and I think this is where you do it. Huge moment for the Blizzard family. I think StarCraft 3 definitely gets announced. Then I also think what Fuzzy's saying, there is the potential that they do announce that they are working currently to bring World of Warcraft to consoles, specifically Xbox. I think that makes a lot of sense. World of Warcraft has had its ups and downs. I'm sure now that Xbox owns them, they're eventually going to announce World of Warcraft 2, something that was supposedly behind the scenes worked on and then canned by Kotick and Activision. Blizzard is now free of the shackles of that side of things. I think that's why we're seeing the extra step, the extra energy in their step, is because I believe Blizzard now knows that they are not going to have Activision higher-ups meddling in their affairs. I think eventually we'll see the team split up again, where it's Activision separate from Blizzard, separate from King. I think underneath Xbox, that'll be down the road once they're fully integrated. But I think Phil is probably going to walk in there and say, you guys are free. Do what you want to do. Present your ideas to us. Don't worry about Activision anymore because it's done. Kotick's done at the end of the year. You're not going to have anybody meddling over here. If you guys want to work on World of Warcraft 2, let us know. I think that's definitely going to happen. But I think this is going to be an extra special year for BlizzCon. But I think the headline coming out of this will be that StarCraft 3 is announced. And I think that's going to be a giant moment in history for these guys. Because, again, if you weren't around, if you don't know, in Korea, it's still one of the most played games over there. They still have giant tournaments for StarCraft 2, even though it's no longer supported. It will be a big announcement when they do it. And I think this is the spot. And then, of course, Diablo 4, I definitely think they're announcing the expansion for next year, the Lord of Hatred expansion. They're going to show us off a great CGI trailer. Like you said, PTK, the new class, might hint at that new class in this conversation during the fireside chat. But it's going to be fun, fellas. I think Friday next week, we're going to be pleasantly surprised.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. Great topic, man. Great topic. So let's go ahead and get over to you. Fuzz taking us into
Stormgate. Thank you, Psychonauts. It's Stormgate, and that new studio is Frost Giant. Thank you, Psychonauts, for backing me up. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Nice. Where we going, Fuzz?
We'll just make this quick, and it'll end with more of like a kind of like a prediction question. But as you know, Xbox is going through some reorganization. Two main, executives that we've seen, both from court appearances and documents, as well as just their, posts on social media and things like that. Sarah Bond and Matt Booty have kind of moved up the ladder a little bit more. Sarah being in charge of Xbox proper, as Phil just focuses on like the Microsoft or gaming, Microsoft gaming as the CEO, and then Matt Booty is basically the president of content, which I'm assuming now encapsulates Bethesda under that. So not only does he have the Xbox first party studios that he's kind of overseeing, he's also going to be doing the similar role for Bethesda. And I'm assuming probably something to do with Activision after the first of the year, but we'll get more into the Activision aspect. But it's good to see that, as we stated over numerous podcasts, that it looks like Sarah is kind of being groomed for the lead role at Xbox. I kind of figured before it got to that point, they may like have her head up over at ABK beforehand, because I thought that was like before the whole acquisition talk was even brought up. I was like, oh, they better make sure that they pay Sarah well, because I wouldn't be surprised if the board over there tries to recruit her, from Xbox. Given the PR issues that they were having, that would be pretty much the way to kind of squash that in the news media space and things like that. But now she's going to be heading up Xbox and looking towards the future, whether it's more hardware as far as options, whether it's handhelds, the next generation of consoles, things along those lines, as well as on the software and the things as far as the third-party deals and working on I guess the budgetary stuff for the first-party stuff. She's now pretty much heading the ship at that point. And then with Matt Booty now having oversight over Bethesda, hopefully that prevents any situations kind of like the Redfall release. Although yes, they've worked diligently to get that resolved as far as some of the launch issues and things like that. But having him oversee all of that, and hopefully keeping more eyes and closer attention to all future releases, this should help with the QC for future launches and things along those lines. But I guess the big question I'm going to have for you guys, with the reorganization of Xbox and some of the executives there, what do you guys think is going to be the reorganization of ABK after the first of the year, when Bobby is given his golden parachute? So I'll start with you, Slow Mo. Who do you think heads up ABK? Or kind of like what Pong was saying, do you think ABK eventually becomes split into three divisions, where you have Activision as a standalone, Blizzard as its own standalone, and King as its own standalone, and having basically three different heads for that? Or do you think they put somebody in charge of ABK as a whole, and then kind of reorganize the team under that? Who do you think, or what do you think is going to be the go-to plan after the first year?
I think they don't want to so they have this idea of limited integration, and I think they don't want to create too much change. And when so much of like federal regulation is involved with this acquisition, and especially not at this point in time, like you don't want to you just got the acquisition, and you immediately to split up all the company back into 3 companies again.
Yeah.
I think regulators might question why you're doing that, even though it may be a completely innocent reason. I think they'll mostly just be trying to fix the culture issues that are plagued in ABK, but otherwise be mostly just limited integration, letting them do their thing. And in order to do that, you need to just appoint someone to take over for Bobby K's role, and then let that person do the job from there. And I think that person would be Mike Ybarra. I think Mike, he is uniquely suited for this because he's a known commodity within Microsoft. He was there for a long period of time, so he knows how Microsoft works, and he knows what's expected. And he also is clean of the stench of the ABK culture issues. Because when he arrived there, if you look at what like the time frame for so much of the stuff that went down, it was prior to him being there. So he's not tainted by that other stuff, and yet he can still get the job done. And so I think that puts him in a very unique position that no one else at ABK is at, and they'll just put him in charge of it, and then let him try to help him right the ship culturally, while also allowing him to keep the money train going.
Nice.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And
then maybe Rod Ferguson takes over Blizzard from him, but I don't know. I think Rod is like a guy that really likes to just make games. I don't know him, but I just get that vibe from him. I don't know if he wants to go to executive, like that again, but I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. No, it's definitely an interesting approach. Like if they have it where Rod moves up kind of into more of Mike's role, and Mike becomes more of like the Bobby Kotick role, that definitely would be a way to keep somebody that's within the walls of Blizzard, like you said, that's clean of all the previous shenanigans. And it's not like an abrupt change. So he's a known quantity, like you said, a face that the people that are there know and either already are familiar with or have worked with. So it wouldn't be too much of a shock, I guess you could say, to how things are structured over there. So that would be a good option. Pong, what do you think as far as after Bobby gets his golden parachute and gets ushered out the door? What do you think the reorganization or the outlook is as far as who takes what seat and how things are to move forward for the day to day?
Yeah, I think Slow-Mo has been listening to my conversations about this and recording them and wrote it all down word for word of what I've said in the past. Great minds think alike, sir. I've been saying this forever, that I believe that it was Ybarra. We just had this conversation a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, we did,
whether
actually.
It be Sarah Bond or whatever the case may be. But I've always been on Ybarra being the one that takes over for the exact reasons that Slow-Mo just pointed out. And I've said that time and time again, that he is uniquely qualified for that position because he knows the inner workings of both Microsoft, Xbox, and ABK. He understands the languages, he understands the philosophies, he understands the cultural differences that it will take to integrate that extremely large, nearly 2.5 times the size of Xbox currently, into the umbrella. And I think that relationship between him and Phil, even though he did not leave on good terms for whatever reason, some people say it's because he didn't get the credit for Game Pass, whatever, it doesn't matter. That's all water under the bridge. And if he is willing to set aside ego, if he is willing to say it's been time enough, and they are making it up to me by giving me this position in a lot of ways, entrusting me with this giant organization, then I think Ybarra takes it. And I think that Ybarra would be perfect for it. He will ease that transition as much as possible. Like I said, too, there is, Slow-Mo brought it up, he doesn't have the stink on him. but he also probably knows what stink is left in those buildings and who potentially is problems that Microsoft will continue to clean out. They've done a lot of cleaning, but I can guarantee you there's a whole lot more mud in there, right? And he will know where to go, right? He will know who to target. He will know what divisions need to be targeted. So I think that's why you do give it to Yarbara now that you've put Sarah in the spot, right where she should be. Like I said, I wouldn't have minded had they given it to her at all, but I think that she is now obviously the heir to the throne of CEO of Microsoft Gaming when Phil decides to step aside, and she is now taking on a lot of Phil's old responsibilities in this new role. So now that that's all happened, I think Ybarra is the natural one to go to at this time. I will throw in a dark horse that has just emerged in all of this, and I will throw this out there completely as speculation because we do not have details of anything. Connie Booth.
I knew that was coming. I knew you were going to say that.
Connie Booth would be, again, no matter what the situation, even if you're not thinking of her in that role, I'm making phone call, I'm making emails, I am texting her if I am Phil nonstop going, Connie, when you are ready to talk, please come on in. Let's talk about what you want to do with the remaining portion of your career if you're still interested in staying in this industry. If you have any interest in continuing working, let us know. Don't care if it's an advisor role. Hey, Activision is open. If you want to talk about the Activision role, give us a call. We are here and we are listening. And basically, we've got a blank check for you because that is a talent that I would bring in no matter what. So that's my dark horse for it, but I think Ybarra is the natural transition right now, for sure.
Nice. Yep. Yeah, I like you bringing up Connie Booth as well, just for the fact that, if anything, have her where she's working with Matt Booty as far as whether it's, the go-to person to get things done for ABK or just like pretty much be, Matt Booty's pit bull to make sure these studios are on timelines and meeting their progress and things along those lines. So definitely would be a good person to have on the team in some form or fashion.
Correct.
Like
whatever she wants.
Even
Advisory role. Yeah, come
cool
under contract. We don't need full-time commitment from you, Connie. Just come on in and let us know where we can improve, because that knowledge that she has, again, invaluable. You can't put a price on her experience that she's had in this industry for 35 years. There is no price you can put on that. You can't replace it. You can't replicate it. She knows what she's doing, and you bring her in any way possible. So
exactly. So
PTK. I agree with you guys. I think she'd be far more influential on the Xbox Game Studio side of things with Matt Booty. And something that in the past, think about the history that she has with PlayStation, something that you can definitely admit that PlayStation has been able to do that Xbox hasn't been able to do has been consistency in content and quality of content consistency. And that's something that she could be really influential on the Xbox side of things and making sure, especially in this time period where, they're getting out, they got all these studios, they're really ramping up towards that target of one game a quarter. Someone like that who has been in a major producer role and has been really good at managing assets and getting the best out of a limited number of people can be able to really help you achieve those goals and make sure that games get out on time and they're not being delayed because of lack of communication or lack of understanding of what was needed, blah, blah, blah. So I think she'd be great for that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. PTK, what are your thoughts as far as once Bobby gets his big check and gets escorted out of the building? What do you think is the plan or the overall structure that they'll probably follow after the first of the year or shortly thereafter?
I think I'm with Slow-Mo. I'm with pretty much the panel on this one as far as Mikey Barr being the go-to guy here when that transition is ready to happen at the beginning of next year. For continuity's sake, right? Like you want this transition to be easy as possible. I mean, all those people at that company have gone through a lot, right? And you want to make this transition as easy as possible. We don't want to forget about the human element. That's probably the biggest change is going to be the HR stuff over there. Outside of the video game part, right? It's just the HR stuff, cleaning up that front office. So you want to make that as easy as possible. He's been there for a while now. People there at Activision are familiar with his face. They're familiar with seeing him in the office and leadership positions. They're familiar with taking his, with decisions going on there at Blizzard and his ability to make the right decision. So all of that's already in place. You already have the infrastructure there. So he's the easy go-to candidate in that situation. I thought about Sarah. I said Sarah initially just kind of out of I'd love to see her elevated, but obviously I think we all spoke that into existence. It was going to happen anyway. Pong been saying it for years. You've been saying it for years, Fuzz, that she's going to get a leadership position. I pushed back against you guys. I kind of played devil advocate a couple times against that, but ultimately it did happen. You guys say she was getting groomed for something larger. So she's way too talented to just be, a marketing person and just the Gamepass, deal maker, essentially. She's way too talented for that. Has way too many skills. She outgrew that. She was already, too good for that. Not too good, essentially, but she was already like ready to move on from that. So this is perfect for her. She's in a perfect position, right in line to take Phil's position when he decides to hang it up once they get his statue in front of the Microsoft on the Microsoft campus, because it's going up. You getting the MJ statue out front for sure. But yeah, so Mike Ibarra is for sure the guy that's going to lead them in once Bobby gets out of there. Now I didn't consider Connie until obviously this most recently she became a free agent. Now she is a little older. I saw in chat they said she's 64, Pong. So I don't know. That's a little longer than 2
She might just pass. She might just say, "I'm done with."
Absolutely. That's definitely, especially since the way that Jaffe describes her, right, is that she is a PlayStation. She has been a PlayStation lifer, right? 34 years given to one company. You gotta love who you're working with, what you do. Yes,
I mean, the check is gonna be big now. I'm just saying,
that's what I'm saying.
Money talks.
It's a blank check.
Walks, but I mean, like you said, I don't know how long their loyalty goes, especially if it was a messy breakup. You never know.
That's why I said advisory. Just come in as an advisory.
Consulting.
Yes, exactly.
Consulting. Yeah, you don't gotta come in and hang out. You don't gotta get a name on the.
You don't have to have an office. You can work from home. Don't worry about it.
That's exactly how you get around any what do you call them?
Non-competes.
Non-competes. Yeah. You do the advisory because you're not actually acting in that role. So you're just advising. You're a contractor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So she's definitely somebody that be intrigued. Who did we say last time? There was one person. Was it? But there was another girl besides.
I threw out Bonnie coming back. Yep. I threw out Bonnie coming back. She's obviously what happened. She stepped away again. What I said was obviously Phil's loyalty kept her in her role at 343 longer than probably she should have been, right? But her business acumen has never been in question, right? Again, you could talk about whether or not her team's delivered on Halos or not, but her business acumen, her marketing, her understanding of what it takes to promote games is unquestionable. And again, her experience is undeniable. And what she did over her time at Xbox, again, you can't discount that. That is something that you can't replace. And I said if she was going to come back, it'd be a great role for her over Activision, because again, not handling the games per se one-on-one, not having that, but being overall the overseer, I think Bonnie definitely could handle that role. Now I know people are going to freak out. They did when I brought it up last time, but I think that is
as they should, Paul. I'm sorry.
I know. Listen. I was getting there.
See, I was just going to let
Pong get it out.
Only time I want to see Bonnie is at an award show, just in the audience, just smiling and being like the rest of us, a bystander.
I get it slow mo. I step away and I try to take out the emotions and the feelings and my personal thoughts and try to look at it from a business standpoint. And I think that there was a potential there. I said dark horse for her as well. So that's all I'm saying.
I get it. So I think so. I don't know if last time we brought it up, I don't know if she came up. I don't recall you bringing her up. This is new for me too, hearing that. So that's an interesting.
No, that's the one I did bring up.
Is that the one for real?
Yep,
Okay,
I see it. Yep, it was.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, cool. All right. Well, I mean, that's so ultimately, like I said, I mean, I wouldn't say Bonnie, and I'm not saying that's a bad choice. I wouldn't say Bonnie. I didn't really consider her, to be honest with you. I completely spaced it. But yeah, other than that, I couldn't really think. I mean, really, who's available, right? Like, you got to think of like who's gonna fit the criteria. The only person I can think of, like, now he would never do it, but it would be so cool for him to do it.
I know
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course.
Who am I talking about, Pong?
Peter Moore.
No, not even talking about Peter Moore.
Okay, all right.
No, talking about Reggie.
Oh, Reggie! All right,
yeah.
Yeah,
He would never do it.
Huh?
Yeah, he would never. I don't think he would ever do it. But like, it's kind of cool to consider. Like, why not? Like, send him an email, Phil. Like, right? Why not? You never know.
Chances are it's going to be somebody that we have. I mean, if it's not Yabar, chances are it's going to be somebody we've never heard of.
Yeah,
right? That's really the chance. Because again, the video game industry is so different in a lot of ways from other industries that are high profile because we don't know a whole lot of names unless they're public facing. There's a whole lot of qualified people behind the scenes that we've never heard of. Like most people, unless you've listened to Jaffe, never heard of Connie. Right. She got in the Hall of Fame for the Academy of Arts and Sciences. Right. She just got in the Hall of Fame. Like, unless you're really paying attention, you never heard of Connie. And my thought is, if it's not Yabar, it will be somebody from somewhere that we just never have seen, never heard from, unless you read some business interview somewhere, right? Or something crazy. Like, that's probably what's going to happen because there are a ton of talented people in this industry that never get their flowers, that are not ever known by their names unless you work in the industry. So I think that's probably what's going to happen. That's my thought.
One side note I do want to make mention. I do hope Lulu is able to move further up within the it's not public speaking, but it's almost like the basically the go-to person as far as for Microsoft as a whole. Because even
communications manager,
for communications for Microsoft, not saying that they need any additional help as far as that's concerned, but I think it would be beneficial for the Windows platform and for Azure and a few other platforms. To have someone like that when it comes to dealing with some of the media for business reports and things along those lines, because a lot of times you'll have it where Microsoft gets dragged over the coals when it comes to, oh, well, we're going to do Windows 12. Well, what about Windows 11 you just released? And I think having someone that's quick-witted and very to the point as far as communication might not be such a bad idea to have her move further up the rung, within Microsoft Corp. So that's just a side note. Hopefully that something like that happens. But I know they'll probably be like, no, she's too fork tongue or something along those lines. But I think that's probably what Microsoft needs in some regards on the other business end of things, where they do still get that big bad Microsoft persona. But that's basically it. But awesome thoughts, guys, as far as what will become of ABK as far as their leadership. And yeah, Phil is still going to be pretty much the go-to boss, that whoever they have over there will still have to answer to him. But it'll be interesting to see if Ibarra is the one that gets the call, or if it's, like you said, somebody that unless we were in the industry or within the walls of ABK or some other big publisher, we may not even know their name until they get announced, type of thing. But we'll see how it goes after the first of the year. Sayonara to Bobby and his golden parachute, and on to the future for bigger and better things for ABK as a whole and Xbox as a whole.
Yep, for sure. Awesome. Great topic. So we do got a couple minutes left here, so I guess we can kind of get into some just additional things we might have missed. So, Chad, if you want to throw us a question or two, I know I need to get to the super chat real quick. Actually, I should have got to that a long time ago, but let me get to it. Shout out for the $2 super chat. Bold Alpha Wolf Pack. He said, make it less competitive. I think he was talking about something we were talking about earlier, I think, in regards to the game of the year 2023 as far as like the amount 6 versus 8. So I think that's what he was alluding to when he said that. So, but yeah, if you guys want to throw a couple questions in chat, that would be great. Otherwise, I do want to get into something that we didn't get into yet. I want to talk about this tweet from essentially this information we got from Satya Nadella about the Starfield success in Game Pass, essentially confirming that Starfield was like the biggest single driver of Game Pass subscriptions in Game Pass history. So just another feather in the cap of Starfield, basically confirming that it was as massive. The game is, whatever you want to call it by any metric, the game was a massive success. So I want to get into that a little bit. I want to talk to you about that. We'll start with you, Slow Mo, on that. Just talk about the quote, what that means for Xbox, what that means for a single player game, a single player Xbox exclusive game to be doing that well and to drive that type of business in Game Pass.
I think it's big for them, especially considering how like the year when it came to early in the year with Redfall and Bethesda and how things clearly, if you listen to how Phil was speaking about, like, in that kind of funny interview in regards to how things turned out, that's not how they wanted things to be, and that's not what they were expecting. And to see now with Starfield, it coming out and really being what they anticipated. When you do all this planning on games and just any project in particular, you do all this planning and you expect certain things to break the way they do. It's a relief to actually have it turn out the way you want it to. And so the sales are great, especially on PC, especially with, I think they got a great idea, and they should probably continue it with the early access thing they do. So like for people who have Game Pass, like you're already going to get the game included in the service, but then you can play the game a little bit early if you choose to do the the early access, which is just like $30 and some extra goodies or whatever that may come with it, and then that ends up being excuse me, a lot of additional revenue, and as well as actual additional sales for the game, which is amazingly what a lot of people chose to do with Steam without Game Pass. So these are like those Steam sales were a ton of people paying $100 to play Starfield early. Now, of course, there'll be, you can make the argument that was due to it's a Bethesda game and PC gamers love Bethesda, so there you have it. That's why that is. But this being really like the first actual example of that, and they're them getting into the content bag now as things are starting to play out. It's a good sign of what could be to come. So I think it's great for them, and I hope the success continues with the next first party title that comes out next year, whichever it chooses to be.
Hellblade 2.
Whether it's Redfall or Hell. I say why I say Redfall?
Yeah, why
I
you
meant
say
Hellblade 2.
Yeah, what the hell? Yeah. No, you good, someone. No, but I do just to kind of chime in on this before we throw this over to Fuzz and Pong and wrap the show up here. But I agree with you, Slow Mo, on that. I do 100% agree. With just it just cements, like you said, the everything that they've done. This kind of solidifies the reason why we went out and got them, the reason why we made the right decision to drop that 7.5 billion to make this exclusive. That solidifies this. It drove sales, it drove metrics, it drove engagement, it moved the needle for Xbox. Now, some people would argue it didn't move the needle in the industry. Some people would argue, oh, well, this wasn't the generational game. Listen, this game had the most pressure on it all year. But I don't think there was a game that was anywhere close as far as like expectations. Like Tears of the Kingdom was great, but they didn't have not anywhere near the level of expectation that Starfield had. And that's from the haters and from the people that enjoyed Bethesda games from both sides. So I think you got to take that into account, the amount of pressure that was on Bethesda this year. They came out with a phenomenal game, arguably, in my opinion, the biggest game to come out this year, and technically as well too. We got to take that in consideration as well. And it released in great shape. It was a great release. It came out. Obviously, there was a whole lot of help from Xbox. They put all the teams on it to make sure it came out in a great shape. So yeah, I think this is just another feather in the cap. This is like you said, it could be a preview of what we're seeing 2024, 2025 as they get into their bag, as they get into some of these other IPs coming out. If the quality is there, you'll see what you want to see. And like you said, this is the very first version of that, right? Redfall should have been probably, but it obviously fell kind of on its face. We'll see. Hopefully it makes kind of a resurgence, or at least finds a home in Game Pass, which I think it will, because I think the updates will help. The content updates will help as well too. But yeah, I 100% agree. So I guess whoever want to takes Fuzz, Pong, you guys want to dive in on this?
Yeah, sure. Bethesda did exactly what it was supposed to do. Todd and A-Team delivered one of the reasons why Xbox went out and acquired them, especially after hearing that Sony was trying to wrap up some more exclusives from them. This is why you go make this acquisition. The importance of having a single player RPG experience like a Starfield in this day and age can't be understated. As much as multiplayer has taken over, as much as we got all these different games we could play, RPGs are still on the upswing. As much as people say they don't like necessarily big giant open worlds, they still play the hell out of them. Just look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which wound up being their biggest seller of all time, despite all the complaints. People love these types of games, and Bethesda's obviously, to me, one of the masters, if not the master, specifically of the sandbox open world RPG, which they do better, I believe, than anybody has ever done before, with more real RPG, meaning that I go play a role in that game that I design, that I create. That it comes through and through in Starfield. This did what it needed to do from that standpoint, and it drove interest, it drove talking points, both bad and good, which still creates attention. And obviously tons of people jumped in to Game Pass to try out Starfield. Now, the other side of the conversation, the other side of the coin is, of course, well, that's great for 1 month. That was your best ever month of signups for Game Pass, but how many of those people stick around, right? Retention. That's the next step. That's what Xbox is working towards doing, getting people in with that game, that one game that everybody says, oh, I gotta go try it. Everybody's talking about Starfield. Great. I don't want to spend full price. I'll just hop into Game Pass for 1 month. The idea behind that is then they see the other 300-400 games that are in there, and all of a sudden they go, oh, I want to try that one. Oh, I want to try that one. Oh, guess what? It's been a month already. Oh, I guess I'll just keep my subscription going. Oh, I want to try that one. That's always been the roadmap for Game Pass for Xbox. And so having Starfield as that driving force, that's all they needed to see. That was the proof that they needed that this formula can work. Now it's up to them to keep the retention up. It's up to them to keep having interesting titles drop in there. So even if they're not as big as Starfield, those people that try it out for a month say, I'm sticking around because I want to try this game. I want to try this game. Oh, that indie game I've been really waiting to play. That's coming next week. Oh, guess what? I want to drop in there and grab that. That's how you do it. And I think it's starting to work, and they're getting the cadence now that we see the roadmap, like Slow-Mo said. The next big game to drop, we all believe, I think to a T, is going to be Hellblade 2, the way that they're advertising, the way they're promoting it. Hellblade 2 will be the next big game. That'll reignite that process again. And then what you hope is that you've retained a certain percentage out of the Starfield group that jumped in. Then obviously the next one, Hellblade 2, you'll have another jump up, you hope, if the game comes out the way it's supposed to, and you retain a certain percentage of those people. And slowly but surely, you're growing out that Game Pass subscriber base at the end of the day, and they've got big goals for Game Pass. And now that the ABK deal's done, it's all steam ahead. As we've seen, marketing is ramping through the roof. This is what they needed. Starfield did its job. It's one of the main reasons why they went and acquired ZeniMax overall. Proof's in the pudding. It worked.
Yep. Fuzz, did you want to jump in on this, or you're?
No, I was just going to jokingly say, Game Pass is bad for the gaming industry, because it trains people not to buy games, but yet it's sold well. So it's another one of those talking points. It's been destroyed, and it looks like overall the overall model of a subscription service, whether it's gaming, music, TV, movies, what have you, there's always going to be a hook to them to some extent to keep you subscribed, kind of like what Pong said. The big thing is if they've increased the number of subscribers, considering that they were seeing the biggest growth in PC prior, and they kind of felt that they had maxed out or reached the plateau for console sale or for console based subscriptions. If that kind of changed where maybe it was equal growth on PC and console as far as Game Pass is concerned. Plus, they just changed Xbox Live to Game Pass Core, which doesn't include some of their big titles day one, but all of these changes now, and they're now seeing the fruits of that. And Starfield is a big part of that draw for that time period. And with the holidays right around the corner, I would expect this next quarter is going to be even better because yeah, they were down a little bit on hardware while up on software and services. I expect during the holiday they'll probably see even a larger return, and some of that's going to be, still Starfield selling during the holidays. Some of it's going to be even some of the accessories, although they've already sold out of all of the controllers. But the wrap for the console is also probably done better than expected, and we'll see if they continue to do that as opposed to doing like special edition consoles, which would probably be a better financial approach for them as opposed to going through the not really R&D, but going through the manufacturing of a custom console. But the big thing is with all the pressure that was on Bethesda, with all the pressure that was on Starfield, it held through and showed that this model for Game Pass works, showed that the delay was well worth it, and that the game was able to stand on its own despite some, in the gaming media trying to, give it, I guess, less than stellar scores because they feel a certain way because Bethesda is now part of Xbox or what have you. But overall, it's great to see strong sales on a game that's in Game Pass, which we've heard before, and people try to deny it and say that can't be possible. They're lying under oath or whatever the case may be. But sure enough, it looks like it has worked for even their first party and not just for third party partners and things. So we'll see what Hellblade 2, if that helps even further, and with them reaching their cadence now, hopefully one a quarter, or in all honesty, it's probably going to be one every or 1.5 per quarter kind of thing where there'll be some overlap and stuff. But yeah, it's great to see. We'll see what pans out for the holidays, and considering it's still charting and that the game charted, what was it, seventh for overall sales for the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty damn good for a month. So we'll see what's next for Starfield when they can say, hey, 20 million players or 30 million players, which I think they'll probably reach before the end of the year, and you'll see how many of that is sales and how much of that is just the player base still continuing with mods and just playing the game as is. And then I think, was it next year, we're going to probably get the I forget what the mod tool is called, but we're going to get the official mod tools from Bethesda hopefully next year, and we'll see how much more legs this game has even further from there. But it's awesome to see.
Definitely. 100%.
I actually hope if they do have games that looks like that they may be ready within the same quarter, that they actually take the one that probably is the least like needed at that time and just say, hey, look, we'll give you an extra 3 months to polish.
Yeah.
Go ahead and polish that game a little bit further, make sure it's a little bit more ready to go. So just so that you don't have too much overlap. You don't have and any game could use a little bit more time to make sure that there are less bugs involved. There's you can maybe some of the things that you anticipated being able to add in like update number 2, like new modes and stuff like that, or maybe adding in ray tracing, things that you could actually provide at launch that you didn't think that you would be able to fit in there, because rescoping a game is always a thing that developers will do. and be able to having the extra time to add those things in there because the game isn't really needed right now would be perfect, I think. So I just kind of hope that they take that into account as they start to get so much more content coming out.
Yeah, but hopefully we'll see, because I know with like Hi-Fi Rush, that to me was one of their best launch games. Like, it wasn't a complete surprise because the name was kind of out there, but it was enough of a surprise where I think the only patch that they had within the month was like localization for certain regions.
Mm-hmm.
And that was about it. And that game, I'm pretty sure it spent some extra time going over a few things, polishing and bug checking and whatnot. And for the most part, I would like to see all games from them moving forward kind of at that standard. But I mean, some games you might they're never going to be completely bug free. Open world is always that odd variable. But yeah, I agree. They definitely should make, especially considering they're going to have overlap for certain periods of the year. Just bump it back a bit. Hey, an extra 30 days of polish, extra 30 days of testing everything through, making sure, hey, that day one patch, what would have been the day 30 patch? Okay, well, that will be the day one patch, and everything hopefully releases even smoother than expected. So,
yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up on that point, everybody, man. Shout out to everybody who came out and watched us live tonight, man. It was good to be back, man. Obviously, you guys, we weren't here last week, but it's so great to be back, have another phenomenal show with another guest, man. Appreciate all of you. And make sure on your way out, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment too once the video actually goes live, man. I love reading the comments. So I reply to every single comment. So please do that on your way out as well, too. It always helps as well. And if you want to become a member, you can join and do that as well too. Get the cool little benefits, down in chat as well too. But let's go ahead and get to our guests, man, before we wrap things up and get everybody out of here. First and foremost, Slow Mo, thank you for coming out, hanging out with us, man. I know we were supposed to do this last week, but thank you for making accommodations this week to do it again. But yeah, let everybody know where they can find you, Slow Mo.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here. And I like the podcast of awesome people. So it's definitely a pleasure. You guys can find me on my channel, Slow Mo Backslap, as well as my podcast channel with my homie Gaming Forte. It's called Damage Per Second Podcast. We have our own channel for that as well. So you can check us out on both. We do live streams on the DPS channel of our podcast, as well as just playing games and stuff like that. So, come on through if you like. And our podcast also, it goes live Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we dual stream it on the DPS channel, as well as our own individual channel. So come on through.
Awesome, man. And once again, you guys do that. We roll out the red carpet for the guests. We go show support for them coming out, hanging out with us and spending time. So please go do that. All the Slow Mo's information is down in the description. And once again, bro, I thank you being a host of the show for coming out, hanging out with us, spending a little time on your Saturday evening, man. Thank you so much for that. And this will not be the last time you guys see Slow Mo on the Shop podcast. I'm sure he'll be back soon enough, man. Thank you once again, brother. But let's go ahead and throw this over to the best right-hand man in the podcast game. Shout out to both of you. We'll start with you, Pong. Another great show. Glad to be back, man. Feels good on a Saturday night to finally get back to it. But let everybody know, man.
Yeah, the best way to end the Saturday night. Missed it last week. Man, it feels good to have this one in the books again with you brothers. And of course, the always phenomenal Slow Mo Backslap again. Slow Mo, thank you for the conversations and your thoughts tonight.
Oh, no problem.
You brought it as always, man. I just love listening to you talk. So appreciate it. And chat, you guys, absolutely incredible in there. Always great discussions happening along with us. You are as a part of this show as much as we are. So thank you all for joining us. Nothing but love and respect to all of you. But you guys know the drill. Pongsoul on X, formerly known as Twitter. Pongsoul on Xbox. Otherwise, next week, obviously, I always shout out this man because he lifts up so many people in the community and always has and always will. Double Barrel Gaming is a channel. Yeah, Double Barrel is the channel. Mr. Boomstick is the man, 5 days a week, but Tuesdays, Xbox Factor Podcast, the show that I used to appear on the most, one of my favorites. I still try to tune in as much as I can at work, which is not as much as I'd like to, but you got to be there every Tuesday. All Good Things Green, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time for the Xbox Factor Podcast. Thursday night, it's PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM. Myself and my brother from another, we get live at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time over on Fun Speculations channel, the Fun Speculation Network, as we are now calling it. So be there on Thursday night for that. And then, of course, Friday nights, it's back on Fun Speculation for Xbox Ultimate, where we have a bigger panel, including our brother Fuzzy right here. But we never know how many people are going to show up. We don't know what the topics are going to be. Last night got crazy. Okay, last night got weird. Mav took it in a weird direction, and wow, we ran with it. But man, we have a good time. We laugh a lot, but we also talk a lot of good gaming. That happens every Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Saturday mornings, 5-hour show today. Me and my brother from another, Steel Rain. We go 3+ hours. It's usually 4 to 5. But we had another great conversation. Got the chat involved. We had a lot of good conversations with the chat, a lot of back and forth. We welcome discussion there as long as it's intelligent, as long as it's sincere. So join us. Living Split Screen. Split Screen's all one word, every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. And then right back here, God willing, for another Shop podcast with my brothers PTK and Fuzzy next weekend. Otherwise, it is the golden age of gaming, people. Get out there. Million different things to play. Pick a bunch of them. Pick one. Doesn't matter. Play what you love. Love what you play. And I'll talk to you all real soon. Thanks again, PTK.
Appreciate you, Pong, man. Thank you for coming through every single week. You guys know what to do. Go follow Pong on X, the easiest way to keep up with everything he has going on throughout the week, man. So appreciate you, Pong. Always bringing the energy every single week. We rely on that. Chat relies on it. We love you for that, bro. So thank you for being here, man. And last but not least, my brother, Fuzzy Belvedere, man. Let everybody know where they can find you, Fuzz.
Oh, just always thank you for having me on. Always love being here with you guys on a Saturday night. Definitely missed last Saturday, but this was a good one to just chill out and just talk some games. Always love having Slow-Mo on here. Always good thoughts and love hearing your feedback on things. And then for everyone in the chat, thank you for taking the time. Check us out. Greatly appreciate it. Always love interacting with you guys. For those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on Xbox Lunch Break Special on Double Barrel Gaming at 12 noon on Monday, and then FSP later that evening at 10 p.m. on Fun Speculation Network. And then right back here for Saturday for another episode of Shop Podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Look forward to seeing you guys there.
Appreciate you, Fuzz, man. Once again, Mr. Consistent every single week, bringing that energy, Fuzz. Appreciate you. Thank you so much, bro. You guys know what to do. Go follow Fuzz. All of the information is down below. And last but not least, your host here of the Shop Podcast, your boy PTK Blam. Hit me up everywhere on X. If you guys got ideas for guests, for the just topics for the channel, for the show, whatever the case may be, videos, things like that, hit me up. My DMs are always open on X as well, too. That's the easiest place to get a hold of me. Hit me up, add me on Xbox if you want to play some video games. Playing a whole bunch of Diablo 4 right now. So if you want to do that, whatever, we'll play whatever. So hit me up there. But I appreciate you guys every single week. Missed you guys so much last week. You guys definitely brought the energy again, chat. You guys are so fucking awesome. It shows the show's growing, the channel's growing every single week. So I greatly appreciate the consistent support, man. So see you guys next week. Same time, same place, new guests. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening. Be safe. Peace out, everybody.
Later.